Welcome, listeners, gamers, country people, to Open Betas, the podcast about the life of games and the game of life. Today we got something really special for you. And in fact, I'm not going to tell you about it. I'm going to do something else. Open Betas loves to play music games, rhythm games, etc.
You're an opera singer in a different life?
My name is Swimfan, and with me as always is Regal.
Hello?
And we are here to talk about music games, or for some reason they're also called rhythm games, because of you got to press the button to the rhythm. Do you play music games, Regal?
I used to, for quite a while. In fact,
Was it just... Go on.
In fact, our the main Discord server that we're active in is all former OSU players, OSU refugees.
Yep. All of them, for the most part.
Not at this point, not
me and
all
Goro?
of them, obviously, because you're in there and you're not a
Yeah.
refugee. But early on in Deception, most of the main characters are all from the official OSU Discord from circa like 2015.
Did you play other music games before that? Was that
Yeah, I did.
the final?
I mean, I historically enjoyed rhythm games. I still enjoy rhythm games. I played them at an arcade recently. That was fun.
Oh, really?
One of my favorite memories is in high school, in the early era of mobile games, back when iTouches were still a thing that people unironically used.
That's the thing where it wasn't a phone, but it was the other everything else.
It was not It was basically a phone-sized tablet by today's parlance,
Yeah.
but tablets didn't
Yeah.
really exist yet.
Mm-hmm.
I play a lot of
What a time.
Tap Revenge 3, classic.
Oh yeah.
Classic arcade game, not arcade game, classic mobile game.
See, my knowledge of the mobile game space is limited, but it looks a whole lot like Guitar Hero to me.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, all rhythm games are like pretty much the same game, right? I mean,
Sure, but I mean they're definitely using the
yeah.
the guitar fret track thing.
Sure. But yeah, it is. I've historically played a lot of rhythm games. I played. Are you familiar with Rhythm Heaven? Rhythm Heaven was really
yep.
big when I was in high school as well. Really popular.
Oh, really?
And then I played Osu for many a year. Made me into the weeb I am today.
Rhythm Heaven. It's kind of like Elite Beat Agents, sort of, or no?
I think Elite Beat Agents is like Rhythm Heaven, but yeah, it's
okay.
It's well, actually,
It's
debatable.
Okay, all right.
Rhythm Heaven is like it's not a music game. It's a rhythm game in sort of the purest sense, where the music is just background music, and the rhythm you're following is sort of driven by animations on the screen. Which I actually didn't get when I was playing it. Like I didn't understand the game at all because I had the brain elements of like a 5-year-old at that age. So, but yeah, it's a really high quality game. I think really.
I should try some of
cool
these.
idea. Yeah.
So, what the fuck are we talking about? So, basically, in a nutshell, basically, the basics are. In all these games, there are basically like a song plays, music notes, visual music notes, or buttons fly at you or fly towards a strike zone, basically, and then you hit them. You hit the right button at the right time to the rhythm to quote unquote play the song. And a lot of these games are if you don't hit your target, if you don't hit the note doesn't play. So the song starts to sound shitty if you're not a good player. Is that true in Osu, or is it just keep going?
No, that's actually, I think that's actually pretty rare what you described. If anything, I think that's mostly a Western game thing, or like a popular game thing.
Yeah, okay. I mean, in Osu, it's sort of there are strike zones, but the strike zone moves around the screen essentially. So it's a precision clicking tapping challenge, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you can. That's yeah, you can describe it that way.
But like the original, like Beatmania, Guitar Hero, Parappa the Rapper,
DDR.
DDR. It was you saw the buttons coming down the pipe basically.
Yeah. And Osu, by the way, Osu has 5, I think, at last checked, 4 or 5 variants, and one of them is Mania, which is the classic Beatmania type of game. Yeah. But Osu Standard is what you're describing, where it's a precision movement game in addition to a rhythm game.
Yep. Yeah, you're basically following a strike zone path around the screen, essentially, right?
Sure. Yep. It's a touchscreen game. You can think about it that way. It's
yeah. And then there's variations on it. I mean, it can be a touchscreen game. It can be literally I'm pressing face buttons on a controller. It can be, as we'll talk about later, it can be like a peripheral, like a big plastic ass guitar that you fill up your house with.
A mat that you stand on.
A plastic mat that you stand on. Lots of fun, big shit that is only useful for that particular game that then you have to store.
You say that, but so when we were playing Lost Ark, one of our friends broke his elbow.
Oh,
and
playing
couldn't
DDR?
play anymore. No, at his normal human job, not gaming related.
Caught in a
Gamers
machine.
are not human, obviously.
No.
But yeah, so we suggested that he can play using a DDR mat. There's many programs to rewire your human inputs into the DDR mat inputs. He was not thrilled with the idea, but
he didn't go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of examples out there of either people have like a disability that they want to play with their feet or whatever, or there are just people who challenge themselves to play Kingdom Hearts on a Guitar Hero controller or whatever. Although
most of those are actually really lame.
Are they?
You get down to it, yeah. Mostly it's just you remap.
Yeah, I mean, once you get over that part, it's like,
yeah, it's kind of lame. DDR is more cool, but few people actually attempt that because they're lame.
Well, and like actually moving your body and having to have stamina and stuff like that.
Yeah, imagine. Couldn't be me.
No.
Do you work out, Swimfan? Have you ever worked out?
I have. I don't. With the years I spent very depressed, I was recommended to work out a lot. People said you gotta exercise like 30 minutes, at least 3 times a day, 3 times a week or whatever, but hopefully a lot more than that. And I did it on and off. We have an elliptical machine in the basement that I used.
I was actually talking more about strength training because I actually do cardio once in a while. I also walk a lot, but
okay, yeah. I mean, I walk a lot. I try to do cardio. No, fuck strength. Like I don't.
Yeah, I agree.
Why? I mean, I guess I could be strong.
There are good reasons.
Are there? What reasons?
Well, it's good for your health. Obviously, if you also do cardio, it's
but cardio is way better, right? Like, are lifting weights really that good for your health?
I don't know. I guess I'm the wrong. We're the wrong audience to argue.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'm a skinny weakling, so and I've actually we're betas, yes, open betas. We've I've gotten stronger at my job lifting like raccoon cages and shit.
Yeah, that's mainly that's the main reason. Like, not being able to lift stuff is kind of annoying. I mean, you also do gardening, so I imagine I have a distinct memory of like being 11 and helping out with like gardening work in North Dakota with like white people. And them just being shocked at like how weak I was. And I was like, well, shit. What can I do? What can you do?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure the same thing would happen to me, certainly. Yeah. Like, boy, what is wrong with you? I play video games all day. In college, I used to work out, and I got kind of muscly. But, it's like, little guys with muscles. It's like, what are we doing? I don't know. And my wife doesn't care. She likes skinny guys. So, being muscly, what's the point?
All right.
It's not like I'm going to fight anybody. So, no. And you don't either, you said?
No, I don't do strength training. In fact, mostly because, like, I'm not really against that. I just find it extremely mind-numbingly boring. Like,
yeah, it's boring, and you get
just like dry out. And
well, I mean, I watch movies while I do cardio, and that helps, but it's still fucking boring, and I'm the motivation. And now that I am like doing really well happiness wise, thanks to like working with raccoons.
No, because
squirrels.
of Open Betas, the podcast about the game of life.
I mean, that's a contributing
life
factor
games.
for sure. Game of life. So now that I do that, I'm like, I have no motivation to do any actual working out. I'm like, well, fuck it. What's the point? Be healthy? Forget it. Okay, so anyway, music games. So we discussed a little, like, there's a spectrum of these games, from like the more laid back, like kind of party games, to the high precision speed, like I am a robot functioning at maximum efficiency kind of game, like Osu, or at least from my view. Are there more?
There's difficulty levels, I think, but yeah, there are some games where, like, Guitar Hero's highest difficulty is not challenging to a experienced rhythm game player, like, relative to
right, to like a Cookiesy, or what is it? What is
sure,
the name?
yeah, I think that's correct. Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about some other shit.
Do you want to do patch notes?
Oh, I forgot about patch notes. Yes, let's do patch notes. Thank you.
Well, I had one thing that I wanted to say, which is, so in Japan, so Street Fighter 6 came out recently.
Yes, I liked the visuals, the animation in that.
Yeah, it actually, I thought I would hate it, but I actually think it's pretty good. Street Fighter 6 came out, and in Japan, obviously it's quite big. It's still big, and historic has been big, more bigly than here, than in the West for the most part, as far as popular culture goes. And they've been doing a tournament with the streamers, including VTubers and other non-fighting game player streamers.
Oh.
So I've been doing a long-standing event. Yeah, long-standing event called the CR Cup, basically, where they pair like pro players with like streamers, content creators that are new to the game. Have a big tournament.
Yeah,
and,
like a celebrity golf tournament.
Yeah, and I think it was like unironically fun and successful. Even the players, obviously the non-professional players didn't get very good. They got to like gold rank, right, or silver rank with coaching and stuff. But that really
sounds pretty good.
Yeah, compared to us, of course. But it really struck me, and this is not the first time this has come up. For example, I think we talked in our show about fighting games, about the example of the teacher having his classes play Guilty Gear throughout the year and like watching them figure out the game.
Yes.
It really made me think about how fighting games are really like, because Yip said this too, and Yip said like, well, sitting in practice mode, learning stuff in fighting games is not fun, which I think is true for the most part, and that's how you get good. But I do think there's some middle ground there where there can be a situation that's created where that is fun, right? Where someone is teaching you something, and that's fun, right? Even though you're sitting in practice mode, you're talking with someone who's much better than you. You're doing it for a purpose, right? You have a goal, direct goal in mind. There's a match tomorrow that you're preparing for. Someone's teaching you. You want to do well. You know, there's social aspects. There's performance aspects. There's pride. All those things can make that experience fun. I think that is what keeps a lot of the scene going for new players that are drawn in that way. That makes sense, right?
Yeah, okay.
So what it really makes me think is that like sitting in practice mode by yourself is really not fun. Like there's no way that's ever going to be fun if you're just learning by yourself and you're just like watching a YouTube video and trying to do a combo. Like that's
I mean, you're just trying to get better. Your competitive spirit is driving you to do it, but it's not like fun.
Yeah. And it makes me think that like even if you have a system in a game that's inherently not fun under most circumstances, in other words, like by yourself in a room, you can lean into like there are some, you can change the parameters basically, right? Change the situation so that it is fun one way or the other. And in the case of fighting games, if you could somehow, and they've done this several times before, I think they're aware of this. They've done it with Western streamers too. But if you can somehow hook into that idea of like, hey, like make use social, in this case it's the social aspect, right? Use the social aspect to try to make this thing that's not fun, and then people will get good, and then it'll become fun by itself.
So like in-game mentorship system or something?
Well, that sounds like a disaster. But yeah, if
Wait,
we had
why does that sound like a disaster?
I mean,
wasn't there a system? Wasn't there a system like that in? Fuck. fuck, I can't remember. I feel like I've seen that.
I think it has to be. I think it can't be with a stranger, or at least not
Yeah.
with a stranger that you know nothing about, right? Like when it's another content creator or it's like a known player, then that's not really a stranger, right? You have a parasocial relationship. You understand some things of the person. You know what they're gonna act like.
Yeah, you're saying so. You're saying like matching with a stranger would be not fun, or
Yeah,
just
I don't
like
think so.
a crapshoot in terms of quality. I
Well,
guess.
both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously the game can't just create a community, right? But I think there's more meat on the bone here that's untapped, I think.
Okay. Okay.
And it starts with the idea of like try to boost the community engagement, right? And the competitive engagement of a lower ranked player.
Yeah, getting newbies into some sort of social aspect.
And I
fast.
think a big part of that, now that I think about it, is that they have to be in a competitive environment where they are playing against people of similar skill level, right? So when you have Guilty Gear in a classroom and everyone's a kid and everyone's bad, then that makes it a lot more fun, right? But just having a tournament where anyone can enter, a new player is not going to have any fun in that tournament at all, right?
No,
There
you're
has
gonna
to
get
be,
their ass
you have to boost
kicked.
the competitive experience at a lower level. Basically, this is like a middle school track meet, right? Like
Explain.
you have a middle school track meet where the kids who are all mostly unathletic are there competing against each other, and ostensibly
yes.
like you're training and trying to do well because that in of itself is fun somehow, but you're not inviting anyone who's actually good to the track meet, right? Unless they go to your middle school.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Something
sure.
like that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this reminds me of League of Legends. We talked about constantly internally about how new players who play with a friend are, however many times way more likely to keep playing the game because
I imagine it's like over 10.
yeah,
Like,
it's huge. Like
I would guess it's huge.
having somebody you're playing duo queuing with or whatever is so much better of a way to introduce yourself to the game.
And I think this is a large part of why team games are so successful compared to 1v1 games, right? Like as soon as League of Legends became the biggest game, because before League of Legends it was actually
Yeah, you can bring people along for the ride.
yeah. In a 1v1 game, because we were all playing StarCraft 2 right before League of Legends. My hot Giga gamer friends and myself in high
Send
school.
pics. No, I actually don't send pics of high school.
We're 18 probably.
Okay.
What we're talking about? Yeah, so we were playing StarCraft, but I do think the community we had around StarCraft was very different than what could form with League of Legends, right? Of course, League of Legends can also ruin your friendships
Yes.
in a similar way. But I do think the success, as soon as that formula got figured out, I think by League of Legends popularity coinciding with a time when more people are playing online games competitively, and I guess WoW before that. But overall, I think it's just playing with a friend just makes it so much easier to go
Yeah, and if we're talking about other genres, right, like team deathmatch stuff, team capture the flag in first-person shooters is, you don't have to be good right away if you're going in with a team of your 5 friends or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I guess historically, the team version of the game is always taken. So, for example, there was Quake, right?
Mm-hmm. Arena.
But that's a 1v1 game, whereas
or free-for-all.
Yeah, the successful version of that was Counter-Strike, right? Although they're not really the same game, but the team-based games.
But you're right. Like, what really stood the test of time is the Counter-Strike type thing.
And same with, I think Yip made the comparison of like
Team Fortress,
StarCraft,
sort
RTS became MOBAs, right? They play similarly, but the team-based game is the one that came up and so on.
And MOBAs just make way more sense for a person with a normal brain like mine. RTS is so overwhelming.
RTS is it's like a full body experience.
Yeah, you got to really be.
Although
you gotta have a working brain.
I will say that is exclusive to StarCraft. So, for example, there's a competitive Civilization very small, very tiny, quasi competitive community. But there are games where
That's not
you
real
play
time
a
though.
slower game. Well, it kind of is. It's just really slow. Like
No, it's turn-based.
it is turn based, but the turns have a timer, so you have a limited amount of actions you can do per turn in a
Okay,
competitive
fair
game.
enough. There's
So
complication there, but
there's
RTS has a level of anxiety on top of
Yeah.
it because it's just like it's happening
StarCraft
now.
ones. Yeah. The thing is, like, StarCraft is the fastest RTS, and that it also became the most popular. So I think a lot of perception is skewed by StarCraft. There are slower RTS out there.
Did you play any
But
Command and Conquer?
no, that was before my time.
Uh,
Actually, I may have played it once at like a friend's house.
it was a
Doom 2.
revelation at the time. It
Yeah.
was like I didn't play Doom 2, so that was kind of the first RTS I ever played.
Yeah.
All right. What
Anyway,
else we got? Any more patch notes?
Well, do you want me to talk about this lore single player?
I don't know if you want to. Sure.
I played
Do
it.
it.
I didn't really.
Hang
I
on,
would
what-
say it's a game.
You didn't
That-
specify. He played the Legends of Runeterra
Oh yeah,
card game
So
single player.
Yip suggested that I try the single player campaign. It was not for me. I do think that if I made it to the end game, maybe it would have gotten to what I wanted. I want to ask you something though. So as for my full,
Oh, no.
I did write up a full
I saw.
feedback. Yeah, that I sent around. I might do a video on it, so I don't want to. Also, it was like 9 pages long, so I didn't really want to summarize too much of it.
Yeah.
But I might do a video on what my takeaways were. The thing is, like, I just
Yeah, I
don't
think
want
that's
to.
a good one.
I played it for like 4 hours, but the thing is, like, I really, and I said this in the email too. Like, I just don't want to give a review on a game after playing for 4 hours. That's so little time compared to what it deserves, right? If I'm going to.
And with like a
semi-
card game where you're unlocking collection stuff, like
Yeah.
it's gonna change over time.
But I think my main takeaway was that it's a game that's not made for me. And I think the single player especially had a lot of problems. Like, I think I would have been fine in the multiplayer perhaps, but the single player I just found to be pretty frustrating.
Okay.
A lot of things felt like they were outside of the player's control because of the dominance of curve. Like, I think that game is extremely curve dominant.
Meaning
curve
you accelerate your abilities turn by turn.
So
fast?
curve in the traditional like Magic card game sense is basically playing a one drop playing the most efficient play you can per turn. So on turn 1 you have 1 mana, you play a 1 mana creature or spell. On turn 2 you want to play a 2 mana creature or spell. So if you're on curve, you play a 1, then a 2, and then a 3. If
Yeah.
you fall off the curve, it's like, well, I don't have a 2 mana spell, so I just have to pass my turn.
Yeah, feels
Right,
bad.
and do nothing. But I think that game felt extremely curve dominant to me, which in single player I felt like was harmful because the way you beat the challenges didn't feel like it was in your hands necessarily.
Really? And when you say curve dominant, you mean like it has an emphasis on hitting
Yes.
those efficient
Yeah.
curve things.
Yes.
Okay.
Even more so than Hearthstone and Magic, which are already very curve dominant games, especially
Yeah.
Magic these days. And I think that's because they made a conscious decision to not include mana efficient removal or sweepers. So sweepers are things that can like destroy all creatures. To me, it felt clear like the way you're intended to fight back from a losing position is to just make good combat plays. The problem is to make good combat plays, you need to stay on curve. And I think again, there are things that make it possible in multiplayer, but in single player, it became a bit frustrating.
I see. So we'll see if Yip defends his stuff or if he reads your 9-page document.
Yeah, I think he did read it based on what I inferred. But yeah, if I was going to make a video, I would. Yeah, I would want to put more time into it. Like, I don't feel like 4 hours is enough time to make a positive judgment.
I find
I have a
this
question.
card offensive. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question for you though. So the first 4 characters I encountered, I remember the first 2 being Draven and Garen, and then the next, I forget who the next 2 were. Maybe like Zed and Yasuo or something.
Okay.
That was weird to me. Like, League of Legends. First of all, League of Legends sells made in Italy and booba skins, right? As a
Wait, made in Italy? Sorry?
made in Italy. French made in Italy.
Oh, made in Italy. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, I mean, they pretend that they don't do that over time, but
Yeah, but
they
they
do it all the
obviously
time.
do. And then second of all, they have their mascot is like Timo, right? And then they
Uh,
have like,
It's not
is
the
it not?
mascot. Nah.
Yeah, who's the mascot?
Do they have one?
I think it's Timo. And then they have all these like
No.
non-human. They have like rock people and like void people like
Yes,
Rek'Sai,
yes.
and they have like furries like Kindred.
Mm-hmm,
They have like ice people. Why do you think the first four characters you saw were these like macho men?
Yeah, that's a little weird to me. Although those are popular characters generally. Like Draven's
guess.
popular.
Yeah.
Karen used to be, I guess. Karen's kind of so basic. What were the other two?
I
you
can
said?
understand Garen. Huh? I forget who the other. I think it was Yasuo and Zed, but that could be
Yeah, those are
confounding
popular.
with something else.
I believe those are pretty popular characters. So
Sure.
it's weird to me that they don't put a woman in there
Yeah.
in a made in Italy costume. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure it was some decision based on popularity and like set releases. I don't know. It does seem a little odd to me. Yeah, that
Seems weird.
it doesn't seem like those are the first four you should try it out. Where's Katarina?
Now, where's the Yordles? I mean, obviously,
No,
I'm like
fuck- no,
mostly
no,
joking
no,
about.
fuck the Yordles. We don't, I think there was a rule at Riot eventually, like, do not lead with Yordles ever.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
I guess Timo can't be the mascot.
Because he's like that's like a second or third order character in terms of like they're the Ewoks, they're not the
sounds
core
racist
of the game.
sounds racist to me, dude. I don't know what's wrong
what
with Yordles.
calling a fuzzy guy an Ewok, you mean?
No, calling the short Q people the second tier characters.
Yeah, I
But
mean
they didn't choose to be that way. You made them that way.
I know. Yeah, it's not a fair world. But it's the truth, nobody likes them.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
not true. People like them, but it's
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
It's not what you'd expect
No, I
most
get it,
kids
I get
playing
it.
this game to be
yeah, I
attracted
get
to.
it. I get it.
Only the furry guys like Regal. All right, should we talk about rhythm music games?
Yeah, let's do it.
Music games. So I want to talk about the selection of songs because there's a difficulty here. There's music. There's so many genres. There's also the bigger hits that you get, the bigger well-known songs that you get are expensive to license. Like Guitar Hero spent most of their budget, and sometimes to the detriment of the of their profits, on licensing big named songs and acts. And sometimes they got away with doing it cheaper because they could play the song only if they got someone else to cover it, not the original band, right?
Classic trick.
But then
Classic life hack.
when I'm kind of curious, like what kind of songs are in like an Osu, like more Eastern games? Are those
Okay,
big
well-
songs in the East, or are they underground like EDM cheap shit?
Okay, we have this is a deep topic. So first of all, I think there's a number of categories. The expectations are different. So I think Guitar Hero tried to target a wide audience, a normie audience,
Yes,
a normie
yes.
audience.
They wanted it to be a party game, like.
Yeah. Which I think they were successful at least in the beginning. Same with Rock Band.
I think
Just
so
Dance,
too.
whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it was a
they-
sensation. It was billions of dollars
to do
business.
so. The music is first class, and the game, the quality of the map. By the way, map is the terminology usually referring to the way the notes are laid out in the game itself. So you have
Yeah.
the song, and then you
Sheet
have
music.
the beat map or the map, which is the actual like in Guitar Hero it'd be like the order, the little what do you call
The
them?
5 colored frets.
Yeah, the frets, the notes appear on the order in the frets, right? Someone had to go manually make that, and that's called a map in
Yeah.
rhythm game parlance.
Mm-hmm.
So the quality of the map is secondary. The quality of the game is also, aside from being visually pleasing, is also secondary, right? Having the big
I think the elements of convenience and getting into multiplayer
Yeah.
make a big difference. Like there are some
Yeah,
of
that's
those
true.
early games that are very difficult to, for whatever reason, they're difficult to join or whatever, that
Yeah.
it's like Normits would just bounce off of that right away.
Yeah, that's true. But I think it's generally like the the way it can have broad appeal is by getting the most popular songs, right? Which
Yeah.
means they have to spend their budget on that.
Yep.
I think in traditional, I don't know, I don't even want to say traditional. In classic, rhythm games, in sort of the Japanese,
Yeah, more
originated
Eastern, Japanese.
yeah, and this is true of like DDR too. That made its way over here. The popular song is very much secondary, right? What you'll find is a lot of, so in DDR, I think it's a lot of like underground EDM, Euro pop, Euro dance, stuff that's made a big impact. But there are not
DK.
there are songs, yeah, exactly. There are songs that you know because they were in DDR and not the other way around, right? When you fire up DDR, you don't know any of that. You may know like 1% of the songs, right?
And they were the songs were also for an American audience at the time were like novel, weird. They're like, I've never really heard anything quite like this.
Yeah. And I think that it was successful in its own way, but a different way, right? So the songs, I think, were chosen in large part because they were easy to get, but also because they lend themselves much better to better maps, better gameplay.
So
the types
choosing
of
songs based on what kind of a gameplay map it'll make. Okay.
So, and that usually is higher BPM, so faster songs, songs with more dense but clearly followable rhythm patterns. So that's why we have a lot of EDM, a lot of really fast EDM.
Yeah.
A lot of EDM with like clear beats. Things like Europop, obviously, things like that. And also just, following just finding the cheap songs that you can get.
Yeah.
So Osu is actually, this existed for a very brief period. Did you ever hear about Audio Surf?
It rings a bell, but I can't remember what it is.
Audio Surf was the first, this was like before Steam, I think it was like 2008 or so. It was, you could basically, it would generate a rhythm game based on your own MP3 or your own music file.
Oh, cool.
And there were a couple games that followed this pattern. Audio Surf was good. I played it quite a lot as a kid. Well, I don't know about quite a lot, but I played a good amount as a kid. By kid, I mean like 16-year-old or so. There were a couple of games that followed in this track, but kind of died because of, I think, of legal issues, obviously. Record labels are notoriously litigious.
Right. Even though the player is ostensibly using the licensed track.
I don't actually know for sure what happened, but I would guess it was something like that, yeah.
And that's a litigious industry and expensive industry to use their songs.
Yeah. But Osu does the same thing, actually. So Osu is a clone, not really a clone, is a derivative of Uendan, which is a DS game that was basically Osu. Yeah. But it had its own had its own music.
That's like Elite Beat Agents, kind of, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay.
That one is.
It's like the predecessor.
Yeah. And Osu's whole goal was to take the gameplay, put it on a PC, and then let people. So it wouldn't generate based on your own music, but it would let people make their own beat maps. It's a community organized game. So in theory, you can take any song that exists. Because when you download a beat map in Osu, it's literally just you download a folder that has a MP3 in it or another audio file of some kind in it, and the beat map itself is layered over it when you play in the game. So you can put any music you want, with the limitation that if they DMCA you, Osu takes it down, and you have to play on like some shadow server or play offline or like get it.
Right.
Yeah. Because the MP3 is just in the folder. So what that results in is not a lot of popular music because that all gets taken down very quickly, but a lot of like weeb music, open source music. One thing that I think we'll mention later is like,
what was the first thing you said? The weed music?
Weeb.
Weeb music. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Weeb music.
Okay.
So things
like
that
like
are
the theme song to Dragon Ball.
Yeah. A lot of OSTs. One thing that's very popular is like Vocaloid music. Is not licensed. Well, it is licensed, but it's like more free use. Right?
Yeah, I wanted to say this reminds me, there is a whole series of rhythm games based on Hatsune Miku.
Well, yeah, I guess so. But Vocaloid in general, but yeah.
Yes, Vocaloid. Yeah, but people, when you think of Vocaloids, you think of Miku.
Yeah, and when you think of League of Legends, you think of Teemo.
I think of Megarine Luca. So yeah, in those games, all of the songs are like user created, right? Like they're made using Vocaloid software,
Yeah.
and aren't. And some of them are made by the developers, I gather, and some aren't. Is that
Very, very few of them. So the way, this is a limited understanding, but as far as I know, the way the Vocaloid ecosystem works is that you're able to monetize any music you make with the Vocaloid software to the extent that like you can put it on YouTube and make ads from it, and you can like sell an album with it, but you don't own the right to the music. Right.
what's the distinction there?
The distinction is that you can't sue anybody else for using your music. So anyone can cover the song, and even though all you did, if you think of vocal as an instrument, right? It's basically like you own it, license the instrument. So basically, it's like even though you made the whole song and you mixed it and you released it using the Vocaloid software, anyone else can do a cover of it, and you can't sue them, right? And like this is so basically the ecosystem is like.
Good.
A bunch of people, a bunch of hobbyists make a bunch of music basically for free.
Yeah.
And then there's a whole ecosystem that spawns around it of like, well, people like singers that want to do YouTube music but don't want to pay a fee for covering an actual song, cover all the Vocaloid songs. Right? Because they're able to do this without getting into any legal trouble because it's all.
That's kind of cool. I love that. I kind of love that. Do you play any of the Hatsune Miku songs, games, rather?
No, I didn't play any of the original games.
Too simple for you.
No, they just cost money. You know,
Oh,
it's just
that.
like, I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, so I guess on that front,
I'm a fan.
The games themselves, take the most popular like fan created songs. So some of these songs have a ton of views, very popular.
And they all have 3D graphic music videos.
And those are going to be made well. The music,
is that what the developers make for the game, basically?
Yeah, the developers would be making the maps themselves, mapping the gameplay, right? Mapping the music to the gameplay, and then they would be making like graphics, backgrounds, and stuff. Those I think are generally all original.
Miku like running over a rainbow or some shit.
Yeah.
I love those games. Like those are great, uplifting games and good games to play on drugs. I mean, they're just ridiculous, idle, pop, sugary nonsense, but try playing a little.
You should look up the lyrics.
What do you mean?
Vocaloid,
are they dark?
Oh yeah, Vocaloid. What do you call it? I guess they're called artists. Vocaloid artists are known to be a depressed, suicidal bunch. Yeah,
I guess that I believe that.
Yeah.
Well, I've told you before, I'm like not a lyric guy. I don't really. Well, and it's all in Japanese too. So here's actually this is maybe a good topic to discuss. Is the visuals. The visuals of these games. There's kind of there's a paradox here that you encounter a lot, where the gameplay and what is happening in the background, like basically a lot of these games play kind of like a music video of like characters dancing around and singing the song, or sometimes just crazy shit happens, like the Hatsune Miku games. Like stuff is spinning around, like the camera's moving, and there's colors all over the place. But all of that is extraneous, like superfluous information to the player. What they're looking at is the beat map or whatever you called it, the notes and the buttons they have to press. And so there's this weird thing that happens where there's almost like a distracting thing that is happening in the background that looks really cool. Like I like watching someone else play that level, and so I can watch the video. But myself playing the game cannot really look at what's happening in the background.
So have you ever watched an Osu streamer or a video of Osu gameplay?
Yeah.
You'll notice something that you'll never see any of that on the screen, because there's a setting to basically darken or disable the background.
Yeah, it's just like a black background or whatever.
And everybody uses that, because if you're a player that's trying to get a high score, you want to turn all that shit off. Which is also why most games don't let you.
It strikes me as part of the game, though.
It is.
Maybe it's not a good part of the game, but...
So in Osu, there's... By the way, yes, I'm aware that Osu is technically supposed to be pronounced Os. That's not even technically correct always, but I'm going to call it Osu. So in Osu...
They usually swallow the U at the end of a word, right?
The last vowel sound, the last voice sound is often omitted, but not always. And it's not incorrect to not omit it. It just sounds a little weird. So in Osu, there's in addition to an image, you have to come with a background image, which is just like some lifted image that's uncredited to the original artist of anime.
Right. It's not always even animated. It's just like showing background images.
Yeah. It's just some visual identifier that's more than just the name of the song and the text, right? In addition, though, you can do storyboarding, which is basically you can put a whole ass video into your background, like a high budget or arcade rhythm game, right? Mm-hmm. So you can do that, but they do even like recognize artists who put a lot of work into that, but you never see it in Osu because every single player, like I would imagine, over 97% of the player base or something like just plays with backgrounds disabled.
If that's allowed, like why wouldn't you? Kind of. Yeah. It's just like turn off the distractions.
Yeah.
It also reminds me of some of the first music games that I really got into. Because Beatmania was interesting, but it was like too technical, too hard. I was not going to be good enough at it. But Parappa the Rapper and Jammer Lammy that came after it with a more like rock guitar version of Parappa, those blew me away. Like I just never seen. I mean, it has so much like weird Japanese cartoon anime stuff in it, and it's just it's a very what's the word? It's weird and esoteric. I don't know. It's fun and cool to look at, but it's also a huge offender of playing a music video in the background that is like really interesting and dynamic, but really the player kind of has to look at the top of the screen at the little bar going. Yeah. But those are great. I played those with friends in high school and college. Like those were party games for us.
Yeah. I think that was
some of my favorite songs from the game.
They did well.
I remember having a night where I could not sleep because I had the last song from Parappa in my head and it wouldn't go away.
Through the Fire and the Flames?
No, it's like it's something where he's always saying so Parappa's catchphrase is "I gotta believe," and so the song was "I gotta believe."
Okay.
Anyway, it was great, and there was a spider DJ. It was fun. Did you ever play those games?
No, I think there's console games, right? So they were.
Oh yeah, you didn't have the PlayStation.
Unavailable. Yeah.
Neither did I actually. I just always managed to borrow from friends or play them at friends' houses. Yeah.
I played Guitar Hero once or twice at a friend's house. That was one of my early introductions, but mostly I was playing Tap Tap on also my friend's iTouch.
iTouch, yes.
Shout out to Justin in psychology class, AP Psych.
Oh, AP Psych? You had that in your high school?
Yeah. Is that abnormal? I had like every AP
we didn't have that shit.
Well, you're also 37 years older than me, so that was different times probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were mostly just writing on little blackboard slates, and I dipped the girl's hair in front of me into my inkwell sometimes. It was a little prank. So
where am I?
So basically, to wrap this part up, your as you get better at a game, your brain starts to like filter out the shit that doesn't matter.
Yeah. I mean that's true of every game, right? But I think it's especially true of rhythm games.
I feel like you're really cutting out a big element of what this game is to play it, which is very strange. Guitar Hero, Rock Band, that kind of game it does have like a band playing, but it doesn't have quite the same thing because like most of the screen is dominated by the game play. But there is a funny other thing, like the Tetris effect. There is a Guitar Hero effect. If you play a lot of Guitar Hero, seeing that fretboard constantly moving up, and then if you stop playing, you start seeing when you look at something, you see like the middle part of it moving up. I don't know if you've ever experienced such a thing.
Do you not exactly that, but do you ever get the thing where after you play a certain game for a long time, your brain was like playing that game by itself in your brain? I got to the Tetris when I was playing a lot of Tetris.
Like you see the blocks moving around and turning.
Yeah,
and
you
falling?
just see blocks. You just see your brain just like my brain at least just sets up a Tetris board and like moves the Tetris pieces around and puts them in place.
Do you
Happened recently with
incorporate
chess too?
real life things into what you're imagining, or is it just like I am
No,
floating
it's,
away
it's
to
mostly
Tetris
just
world?
Tetris.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
it's mostly just Tetris.
Yeah, I mean, there's also like the Grand Theft Auto effect where you've been playing that for a while and you look at cars really differently. Like
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go in there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's you can't say that. That's how the GTA causes violence. People are going to get you. If
Yeah,
you admit to
they've
that.
just been waiting for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like when I played Doom and I shot up my school. That was a big event. There's also the Assassin's Creed effect where like everything you look at is like, how can I climb this? You look at climbing routes basically on all the buildings.
Oh, I do. I think about fall damage a lot now. Not from any particular game, but I think a lot about how much fall damage I would take if I jumped down.
There's a ton of fall damage in real life.
Yeah,
It's a lot of that.
But yeah, for sure.
It reminds me of the video game conceit that if you fall in water, no matter how high you are,
The bucket,
you're
emoji
safe.
bucket.
Yeah, if you fall in a pool from 50,000 feet or whatever, you're fine.
Yep.
Whereas it's like, I think it's like 200 to 300 feet, you'd be dead. Like it's basically like falling into. You might as well be falling onto concrete at a certain height.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
There is one thing I want to say about the gameplay, which is rhythm games. I think rhythm games are a mini game. They're
Go
a
on.
quintessential mini game that gets turned into a sometimes AAA title.
yeah, I mean they are used as mini games a lot.
Yeah.
Like you will find a sort of a short rhythm game in a lot of mainstream other games. Even like fucking Last of Us has little guitar mini games in it.
And that we have I've been thinking about mini games a lot recently because of holiday event project, but at a general level, I think
We got to talk about that sometime.
there's a lot to explore with the role and the design and the implementation of mini games and why they can be appealing, why big games have mini games in them. But I do think that rhythm games are just a mini game that you can turn into a whole game because of music. If you imagine a rhythm game without the music, you would not get a very compelling experience, right? And that's not true. Obviously, like they're made to be a core experience, but I do think if there was not this like fundamental human rhythm appeal to them, and you were just clicking buttons according to some memorized script, you would not have a good time.
Of course not. Yeah. Well, are you trying to say that compared to many other genres, this is a really simplistic sort of game? Okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
In other words, there's no strategy at all, right? There is completely zero strategic thinking or behavior at all. You can't even imagine a case where that would exist, right? It's literally just execution, and execution is something that's very easy to understand.
Yeah, like
which I think makes it a mini game.
But about as complicated as it gets is like when you strategically deploy star power, double points.
Yeah, sure. Some games do have that
points.
kind of feature, but realistically, it's literally just a pure intuitive execution test.
Yeah, it's like a hand-eye coordination. Fiesta. Which is again, hey, what a way to introduce our next section, which is the party game effect. Party game versions of these things, like getting normal people to play this game. Like, how do the rhythm games, especially Western ones that are this sort of party game idea, like Guitar Hero, Rock Band, And DDR fits that category, I think. Stuff where it's entertaining to watch other people play or to play literally with other people at the same time with co-op stuff. I mean, Rock Band and Guitar Hero got to 4-player games. You know, you were guitar, bass, singing, and drums, and sometimes keyboard as well. Let's see. Where do I want to start with this? So one of the so yeah, these are essentially fun party games. For example, in my own life, it's similar to it's basically like a step removed from just karaoke, right?
Yeah.
Where in fact one of the parts is karaoke. Like if you don't want to
The
push
thing
the
is, like,
buttons, you can just go sing, and it's just that.
a lot of karaoke, maybe, well, a lot of the Asian style karaoke has a score, actually. I don't know if you're aware of this.
Wait, what do you
but-
mean? Oh, yes.
there-
You have
there's
like a
score
high
that, like,
score at the end.
Yeah, measures like how well you did based on some like measurements about tone and pitch and whatever.
Yeah.
So it is, if you consider that to be a gamified version of karaoke, a rhythm game is just one step further. And in fact, I think one comparison you can make, considering it to be like a rhythm game as well as like a physical intuition skill check, it's very similar to playing a sport with humans, other human beings that are not good at the sport. Yeah. So it's like, if you think about the sports that you can normally play, they're all, generally speaking, very, very simplistic as far as like complexity and strategy and picking up to learn. So like, for example, volleyball is very straightforward as far as learning the game, the rules of the game, right? There's things you can play in one gym class.
Yeah, but I mean, sports gets pretty deep, right? Like,
It does. Yeah, it does. Depending on the game, not all sports get that deep. Like, I think ping pong doesn't get very deep, right? Or pool also doesn't get very deep.
we're gonna
a lot
get
of the depth
we're
comes
gonna get
from,
some angry letters from ping pongers and poolers.
well, that would require us to have listeners, but
Yeah, well, maybe in a few years they'll email us.
a lot of the depth comes from like new, novel, difficult ways to execute the same behavior, right? Like a base example is like a race, right? Like a foot race. Like when you were a kid, you probably raced people in your class at recess for fun, and that was fun, but that didn't have any mental or strategic complexity to it. It was literally just like, let's see who can do
go as
this
fast as you
thing
can.
that everyone can do a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think rhythm games are far more in that, towards that end of the spectrum than the traditional video game spectrum, where it's a fun party game because anyone can play. It doesn't take any knowledge to play.
But you can't bring an extra level of strategy to it that makes it
right.
Which honestly is probably a really good thing to keeping it a party game, right? Like, this is the great equalizer of gamers and normits. Like, so I want to tell a little story here. I don't know if I've told it before, but so these games I have found have a nice helping effect for socially awkward nerds like me, where it's like, you can participate in it without having to make small talk or whatever. You can show, I mean, this is the fucking pickup artist shit, but I mean, you can demonstrate talent at these things, right? Like, you can impress people, certain people, with your dancing quote unquote ability or your guitar ability or your singing ability, right? Singing is probably most likely. But so the first time I met my wife back in high school was at a party where we were playing Dance Dance Revolution, and she was entranced by my dance. This is the truth. She was impressed by it because I was I wasn't a good dancer, but I put a lot of like personality into what I was doing.
Okay. Got a big personality.
Yeah. What counts. And she was a fan. She was a Swimfan fan. I also played piano at that party, so that helps too.
Parties.
Parties. I mean, this was something that got me to go to quote unquote parties. Is like, yeah, we're gonna play a game. Like, oh, okay, I can do that and look at a screen.
That's totally understandable. So, I think there's a couple layers here that I want to get into. So one thing that socially awkward nerds often make the mistake of doing is showing a someone you're interested in how good you are at League of Legends when they don't play League of Legends. Right?
Wait, people do that?
Unfortunately, this is a relatively common. I don't know, relatively common, but this is a story that's happened to a more people than you might expect if you're a normit and you really know normit people. Yeah. Like,
why would they be impressed by that?
Well, they wouldn't be.
Yeah.
But if you're a socially awkward nerd, you don't understand that,
yes,
right? Like
yes.
you're like explaining why it's really cool that you are like 9-1 on LeBlanc and you're killing everybody, and they're
diamond or whatever.
Yeah, they're like, look, I'm fucking this guy up. I'm so good, and they're just like,
I don't know. I'm looking at this. I can't tell what I'm looking at.
But I think having a game that's so easy to understand and has a physical component and not a strategic component only, bridges that gap, because people can be impressed by that because they immediately understand where you're. It's like when you watch someone play a sport, the most exciting moments are like the crazy physical feats, right? Not the strategic decisions, which are maybe harder or more impactful, but the highlights that become the most popular and everyone can understand are the physical feats. Like, wow, look at this catch.
Yeah.
Right. Look at this dive
shot. Yeah. Or whatever.
And look at this half court shot. Exactly. Those are things that are universal and impressive to everyone because they are also easy to understand, because everyone has a physical body except for the lizard people and the ghosts, so everyone understands what that's like. So I think that's a long way of saying they are really good party games because of that. Like, they are really, really easy to understand.
Yeah. I mean,
and they can be and being good at them is impressive in a way that being good at a normal game is not.
Yeah, and there's a physicality, there's a real life physicality to it that somehow translates more to normal people, of like, there's skill here, and there's you're making the music sound good. I don't know,
and I think it
all works together.
So there's a whole spectrum to these on games. So for example, being good at League of Legends is less cool than being good at a shooting game, right? If you show a normit pentakill in a shooting game, they are more likely, I think, to understand what just happened and how that was kind of cool.
Yeah,
they're like, oh, you in this game you click on the
you're fast at shooting those guys in the face.
Yeah, you click on the guy with a gun and then you shot him and it was cool.
Yeah,
cool. And, rhythm games are even
Do you want a date?
more along that spectrum.
I said, nice headshot. Do you want a date?
Yeah, beware of an that to you. They're probably kidnapper of some kind.
But I remember being like impressed by people who are really good at the drumming in Rock Band, for example. Like,
yeah.
I was like, wow, you're really doing it.
Yeah.
Which leads me to the persistent myth of, hey, if you play these games enough, you might actually get good at playing the guitar.
Does anyone actually believe this?
Yes.
There's no way anyone actually.
Yes.
Okay, that's insane to me.
It is.
I mean, okay,
but
it's
also,
not. I mean,
yeah,
but
people do believe it. I had a friend in Los Angeles who had a 3-step plan to learning the drums. He said, step 1 was like drumming on the table with his fingers.
Okay.
Step 2 was Rock Band expert level drums. Step 3 was, I'm a drummer.
Wait, where does playing the actual drums come in?
That's step 3.
Okay.
Then you play the real drums.
Okay, I see.
But with all your table and plastic experience.
Yeah, you have some weird ass friend. Well, I don't know if weird is the right word, but
delusional.
It does sound like Californians. So
and there was on and off. I mean, so I worked at Activision, which was the Guitar Hero people, right? Publishers, rather. I mean, Harmonix was kind of the first mover of that in the West. I think they made Guitar Hero 1, and then they jumped ship to EA for Rock Band. And generally, the games that were made by Harmonix were higher quality because everyone else was kind of just following for the most part with those types of games. where was I going with this? And
You were working at Activision, which is the Guitar Hero people.
Yeah. So there's there's a couple of fun things here. So yeah, they did sometimes push or let people believe that myth, right? Like they were kind of like, yeah, this is like the intermediate step to playing the real guitar. And eventually there was a release, not an Activision, I think maybe even Harmonix, but there was a couple of games like Rocksmith where the promise was, oh, no, this will actually teach you to play guitar. Like it gets that complicated. But that's not, I mean, once you get to there, it's like, no, this is no longer fun. This is like, I have to be dedicated and practicing an instrument. Exactly. I might as well be going to a fucking person who could teach me. Yeah, not play a fucking game. It's like the idea that you're going to get fit from playing Wii Fit, you know? It's a joke. It's their, I mean, yeah, you'll get some exercise maybe, but like
Ring Fit does not fuck around though. Do you know about Ring Fit?
No.
Ring Fit is sort of the current generation Wii Fit, and it has a resistance ring, and that one you will actually get fit if you play Ring Fit.
Okay.
That one is not a joke.
That's a game on the Switch right now?
Yeah, I think
and
so.
And you've played it?
I have not played it, but I've seen people play it, and it is and I've seen a little bit about like how many calories it actually burns.
Yeah.
You're not doing strength training, so you won't get jacked, but you will actually burn calories.
Yeah.
And do aerobics.
And there's a resistance ring or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay, cool.
But yeah, Wii Fit definitely not nearly as much.
Yeah, it's an overpromise for sure. Like there's and I think they were always careful what they said, but the implication was still
this message has not been approved by the FDA.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not really surprised given how many people believe like health food stuff, but
people believe all kinds of nonsense.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean,
myself included. Speaking of
guitar, I have a tangent to go on here. You've indicated several times that you think it'd be really cool to play a bunch of instruments, right? Like you're really into this idea
in real life,
of playing,
like actually playing instruments.
Yeah,
of course.
Why is that?
Because music
especially
is
many
cool.
of them.
Because music is cool.
So okay, let me clarify.
Music.
You don't. It's not like you listen to a lot of guitar music, right? For example, or like piano music, or like things like that. So why do you find it cool exactly? What do you find?
Have you played an instrument before?
I played viola in middle school and elementary school.
Did you ever get
and piano a little bit? I liked it well enough. I mean, it's I had like a quarter of a brain almond at that age, so it's like
brain almond.
Yeah, I've been saying this for like months.
You said that earlier. I thought I heard you wrong, but okay.
Yeah. I mean, I liked it well enough. Like it was sort of it was another outlet for being like socially awkward in a way, because it was like an activity you could do to fill time that didn't require you to interact with people.
Yeah.
Well, not even by yourself, because I was in like orchestra. That's how you get in. You do like elementary school orchestra and stuff. But like I didn't have to interact with people while in orchestra. I could just like go there. Anyway,
of course.
So I have some.
I mean,
minimal music.
I feel like when you reach a certain level of competency, it's just fun. Like it's really enjoyable and satisfying to be able to play a song that you also like to hear.
But you don't like to hear these songs, right? Have you considered getting
that
into
I also
music
like to
production?
Music production? Yeah. Oh, so you mean
you're
like writing
EDM
music?
Guy, right? Yeah. No. Like EDM production. Like, have you seen
like being a producer or like composing?
Both.
Okay. Have I seen one?
Have you seen people play samplers?
You mean those squares with all the buttons on them? Yeah. I've seen it.
Yeah,
it's cool.
It's an instrument.
That's fun. Yeah. I don't know that I'm. Well, that does look fun. That I've toyed with the idea of that, but it's like you really have to spend a lot of time learning how to do that to be able to improvise it or whatever, right?
Yeah, that is true. But I guess the point is, well, the time is the big factor. But
there's that,
so
and
is
also
is it just that you think it's cool?
It's cool, and also with piano specifically, and with like guitar sometimes. I don't play guitar, but with piano specifically, pianos are in many locations in real life that you may encounter. And people are impressed when you play a nice piano song, or they like it for the party or whatever.
That has happened once. Oh, I guess you did mention that you played piano.
Yeah. So that
at a young age.
and I liked impressing. Of course, I like being showing off and impressing somebody, and girls.
But
liked
you're still like that now?
No. Like I said, I don't
motivation?
play piano right now. Like I'd like to. I'd
Yeah.
like to get back into it, but the motivation to really, it just takes a lot of damn time. And
Yeah.
finding songs that I want to play, I'm usually like adapting another genre of song to a piano,
Yeah.
like a video game song, because like classical piano stuff, I have no interest in. So I have to really find a video game song to play or something like that.
Do you watch any music streamers? There's a lot of. I would maybe
No.
check it out if you're interested. It seems like something you might enjoy. There's a lot of just musicians that do like relatively small Twitch streams where they like take requests or play video game music, things like that.
Okay.
I
check it
recently
out.
found a Legend of Zelda 3D Zelda speedrunner. He's like the world record holder in some Twilight Princess categories. He also speedruns Wind Waker, named Bewilderbeast,
Okay.
who also did a lot of music. Does a lot of good content on YouTube. That might be something you're interested in checking out if you like this sort of thing.
All right, I'm writing it down.
Yeah. Well, I can also just send it to you off.
I'm writing
off
it
air,
down.
But yeah, there's a lot of that happens. The reason I bring this up is I remember there was one time where you thought like we had like a would you rather, and you valued the ability to play a bunch of instruments
Yes.
to very highly over other stuff. And I was very surprised. You also thought it would make you a lot of money.
That's right, because you thought, everyone else is like a nerd that isn't into the arts and was like,
Well,
the other option
I'm
was
into
like
the art.
technical. What was the other options? It was like
I
technical.
don't remember. Languages
expertise?
maybe or something.
So this is a would you rather I go back and forth on, of like, would you rather be able to speak every language or play every instrument to like a master
Oh, actually,
level?
maybe you're the one that posed this question.
Oh, okay, then yeah, probably.
But anyway, I think.
I mean, if I could
Playing
play
all
at a
instruments
master
does
level, I
not-
could sell out venues. And
No.
Okay, why
Definitely
not?
not. You should look at some of the music streamers on Twitch. They are really good at playing all kinds of instruments. They can play stuff by ear. They do not sell out anything.
Okay, fair enough.
You know, the
Well,
ability to
I'll
play.
join the some sort of big chamber orchestra or something. I mean, it wouldn't be I wouldn't be famous, but I would be.
You'll get $50K a year maybe.
Oh, is that how that goes?
Being good at music and making money from music are very distinct, generally speaking.
It's undervalued.
Well, maybe. If you like it, people get into it, and it's fun.
If you like music.
Yeah, it's difficult to make a lot of money from it, I think.
Okay, all right, I believe you.
I could be wrong.
Playing
done the
every
math,
instrument?
I'll give you an
Aren't you always
example.
buying concert tickets to one-man bands?
I'll give you an example. I guess I won't get that deep. That example takes a long time to explain. But basically, I think it's like there's most musicians that are like playing professionally are are way better than you might think they are. Like they're really good at all kinds of instruments. They've played them for a long time. They can do all the stuff that you think is really cool. And that's most of their ability doesn't come through if they're playing a gig. If that makes sense.
Okay.
When they're playing a gig, most of what they know does not come out. And that disconnect is sort of what... Because like, if you think about it from a streamer perspective or a content creator perspective, people are asking you to play songs that they know. That's what they're there for. And you don't need like 90% of your ability if you're a really talented musician to play a song that someone else knows.
Yeah, to play.
I think that's
don't,
sort of
don't stop believing.
Yeah, that's sort of the bottom line.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
Okay, I think separately there's also the element of I would really enjoy that.
Yeah,
Just
I think that's
like-
totally totally different. But
being able
it's
to
very cool.
produce that sort of thing, because I've experienced it with piano, and it's like, if I could also play the violin and the flute and all that shit, that would be fun as hell.
There's a YouTube channel, pretty famous YouTube channel, one man band cover. It's one guy that films him playing. I guess you've seen it. Yeah, one guy that films himself playing all the parts of various covers that he does. Yeah,
yeah, I do like.
Cool.
I've gone in and out for that kind of stuff. What's that guy's name that does all the video game songs? Something McSomething. I can't remember.
Ronald McDonald.
Yeah, it's Ronald McDonald, I think. Him and Grimace play in a band. And the Fry Guys. So, jumping back to rhythm games. Since we started talking about it, let's just get into more Guitar Hero shit. So there's also the... so at Activision, it was a sensation. It was basically Call of Duty and Guitar Hero were the two big titles.
How long did that last, by the way? I mean, Guitar Hero really lasted. It was really popular when I was in senior year. So, like...
I mean, it was like... I want to say... I'm not sure, but I want to say it was like a decade of music games.
A decade?
Almost, nearly a decade, yeah.
Wow, okay.
Of mid 2000s to mid 10s. 2010s that people were... I mean, you still would see people with these guitars in their houses and shit. Maybe it was a little shorter than that, but it felt pretty long to me. But then again, I was also at the company where everyone was, you could get free guitars and shit, so you could... But as time went on, the sensation slowed down, right? Like, once everybody had a version of the guitar in their house... It was very hard to sell them the next version of the guitar because they're like, what the fuck? No. And some people, got that peripheral... their places were filled with these peripherals, these fucking plastic guitars and plastic drum sets especially, which was like, what am I supposed to do with this? It takes up like half of my closet when I'm not playing. Yeah. So eventually, later, I'm sure they are just overflowing in trash dumps, garbage dumps around America and elsewhere. And interestingly, as time went on, they tried to make deals that would prevent this, but in some cases where retailers had extra guitars, extra copies, eventually they were like, we're sending these back. Like, we're not selling this anymore. And now the new version is in anyway. So we're sending you back your Guitar Hero 2 guitars because now Guitar Hero 3 is out. So at Activision headquarters in Santa Monica, there were like conference rooms just filled with guitars and other peripherals that they couldn't sell. There was just tons of shit.
Activision headquarters is here?
Yeah. I used to work. I told you I used to work there while I was in Los Angeles. This is in Santa Monica. I see. It's totally an unassuming building.
I see.
Like in an office park.
I think I may have. Okay, I think I know where it is.
On Ocean Park, across from the counter.
Yeah, I think I
burger
know
place.
Yeah,
do you remember that?
Yeah.
And then going back for a second to the idea of the license to music being so important. Like, this was... Guitar Hero and Rock Band are the ones where the companies really spent on licensing tracks and also like getting guest appearances by different famous bands so that you could actually hear their voice or see their likeness as your character or whatever. And I went to a few events, like launch parties with washed up rock stars. Like, I went to a party with Slash was playing.
Okay.
And
Slash.
What was the band's what is he in? Guns N' Roses?
Yeah, he's in Guns N' Roses.
Could we have had Axl Rose? Maybe? I don't remember. It was generally people that were like way past being famous doing the Activision holiday party or whatever, but there was a lot of that. We also saw Kanye West at the Call of Duty convention that they did one year, and everyone hated him.
Well, that's not surprising.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was around the fish sticks time. And so anyway, with this licensed music, so we got to a point where it was becoming unsustainable. The game wasn't selling at the huge numbers anymore that it needed. And this was the time where they were doing like band specific titles. Like there was a rock band Beatles, there was a Guitar Hero Aerosmith. Like these were very specific games where only a very small amount of the audience is really going to buy a fucking Aerosmith specific game, because it's just like, unless you're huge fans, it's like I want to play a variety. It's like karaoke. I want to play all kinds of hits.
Whose idea with this, by the way? This sounds like a terrible idea.
To do a band specific game.
Yeah,
I mean, Activision is
throwing. It was in spaghetti mode.
Yeah, it was like, how can we? I was always encouraging the executives to use the word leverage rather than exploit, but Kotick was always like, how do we exploit this brand to the fullest? So yeah, they were just like, any idea. They were like putting out 5 different Guitar Hero games a year. It was just completely bloated, and it was not going to last. But they were trying to squeeze basically the last money out of the existing peripherals they could with new software, with new music.
Oh, okay.
Because they had so much of that hardware peripheral stuff that it was backing up it was going out the front door. We had so many. So there was one. So near the end, Kotick and other executives were really trying to get everyone aligned in the company to push for this "they should pay us" mindset. Like, no.
Oh,
guitar.
okay.
Your music is getting more exposure by being in our games. Really, you should be paying us, or it should be free to license these games. The music industry never
Shocking.
never bought that.
Never caught on.
Never.
People in Osu have that mindset, but I'll let you.
Oh yeah.
Finish.
No, actually, I'm pretty finished. You want to? What's that about?
Oh, okay. So, like I said, Osu, people in Osu, not the developers, but the players, because Osu players are sort of like degenerate 16-year-olds mostly that have no concept of real life.
Okay.
But whenever a song gets a DMCA, often people will, at least when I was playing, people will be in the comments like, this is just a rhythm game. You're getting exposure for being in this game.
Right. This
Why
is
are you
good
DMCAing
for you.
this? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Which
there's some.
I think it's not
truth to that.
ridiculous, but
Yeah, there's some truth to that for sure. Like,
and I think that's why most artists don't DMCA the song. But at the same time, like if they do,
yeah, it's more
their
like
choice.
it's probably a better idea not to DMCA, but it's like you still have the leverage to get the licensing fees.
Like if you want to do that, then you want to do that. So
I mean, it's just like, yeah, okay, do your Guitar Hero game without the music.
yeah. So as far as Guitar Hero goes, I'm interested in how much of the decline was sort of saturation, but how much was a change in the way music is consumed. And I think
you mean this was going
what
from
types of music were popular?
What types of music were popular?
Mm-hmm. Because around 2014, 2015 is when I think like alternative rock or rock in general really started getting phased out as the most popular music, and
really,
including R&B as well, and really started getting replaced by EDM, which I think now is clearly the most popular.
I think they saw that coming and tried to do the DJ Hero pivot and be like, all right, we're gonna take advantage of these popular songs. Really, all it was they looked at the most popular songs that people are listening to currently and that albums that sold, even though, like, to your point, this time of music was also kind of like the pirating time, but
that's
the Napster LimeWire time, a little later than that.
no, LimeWire was before that.
Yeah.
Like a decade before even.
Oh, okay. I'm remembering the old times. But yeah, it was mostly. I mean, the big stuff was classic rock. I mean, it's like karaoke popularity stuff too. So
Yeah.
it kind of fit pop music, whatever pop music was, but to your point, it excluded major EDM songs that didn't have a drummer and a guitarist.
And unfortunately, that's sort of where, by starting as Guitar Hero and not. So I think, for example, Just Dance, if I remember, I played it like twice in my lifetime, but that is a much easier way to integrate all kinds of different music.
Yeah, you can do whatever genre you want, and
yeah,
you can still do this.
I don't. Was Just Dance also Activision? Or yes, very.
I don't know. Not that I know.
It's an audio platform, but yes, Swimfan did the dance. Very hot dance.
It's Ubisoft. Ooh.
Oh, Ubisoft. I wonder if it's still doing it. Like, I wonder
Ubisoft.
What the comparison was during the decline of Guitar Hero versus Just Dance, if the types of music that people were consuming made a difference. Because I would still.
But there was even on top of that, though. We have seen a decline in sales of music games.
Yeah, for sure.
Regardless,
for sure.
like even though they've changed and adapted, if that's what you'd call it.
Yeah, it's I wonder if that's also true, because in the Japanese music games are different, and they are still successful ones coming out.
Yeah.
But I wonder if they've also declined.
Well, like also what is successful for the Japanese market versus like all markets?
I don't know. I would have to look at the numbers.
Yeah.
Just because like it's really hard to compare them, because they're like targeting completely different audiences, right? Again, the draw, I think, of Just Dance Guitar Hero is that you're playing the most popular songs that exist, and that's just not true of most of the Japanese.
Yes.
Or East, not even Japanese, Eastern games. Like, in fact, the thing is, like, in most sort of Eastern or Japanese derived rhythm games. So we have the Vocaloid games.
Mm-hmm.
We have like a recent example, like Muse Dash did quite well. It's a rhythm game.
What's it called?
You have Muse Dash.
Oh, I don't know that one. Muse Dash.
You should look it up. It's actually a high quality game. Very shockingly easy to read. Great graphics.
Oh yeah, it's pretty.
So
cute.
It's tagged as sexual content on Steam, by the way, even though there's no sexual content.
What?
It's kind of funny. There's like bikinis.
Woo!
Anyway,
maybe they do that like finger thing where they poke the butt. That's sexual content.
Sure. Anyway, the thing is, there's like this whole industry of artists whose music are used almost exclusively in who are basically known to be rhythm game artists.
Interesting.
In general.
Okay.
A lot of the artists we meme about in Osu are fall into this category.
There's just nothing really like that in the West that I can think of.
Yeah, there just isn't. Just because I think a big part of it is the targeted appeal was different, and you sort of like.
I mean,
I just think there was no way to appeal to the Western audience without making it a weeb game, right? Because
I know they dabbled with like being able to create your own note maps, beat maps, and upload your own songs and stuff. But it's like, to your point, that's a different audience. That's such a hardcore.
Yeah. One of the target audience changes a lot when you play the games for a long time. So nowadays the audience for the Japanese or Eastern rhythm games are sort of the more hardcore rhythm game players, right? The difficulty, usually the goal is generally to get to the highest difficulties, right? And push the highest difficulties, and the highest difficulties are much, much harder than the highest difficulties available in Guitar Hero.
It gets pretty hard, but yeah, you're right.
So for example, just in very, very basic terms, I think Through the Fire and the Flames Expert would be like a 4.5 star, 5-star map on Osu. And in Osu, the top players play like 9 and 10.
Wow, you think it's that much more difficult?
Yeah,
okay.
And if you ever watch someone really good at Beatmania play Beatmania, I think you can kind of see what I'm talking about, which is like, it's completely unreadable at some point for a normal human. Like you just have no idea what's going on.
I remember my friend Bruce used to play that on the bus and in school all the time, and he was just incredible. Like I couldn't even see what he was seeing.
Yeah. It's for a normal for someone who's not experienced. It's almost
a normal human.
Yeah, for a normal human.
It's true.
The uninitiated.
I got pretty damn good at Guitar Hero I played a shit ton. Did you ever play them?
I played some Guitar Hero, yeah. I could only play it at my friend's house, so only like 2 or 3 times, but it was good.
I was older by then, and I also worked at the company.
Didn't work as well.
I also worked at the company that made it, so yes, I had a lot of friends that had it, so It was a big
yeah.
party thing for years and years and
No,
years.
again, I think it is a really good party game, but
Even my wife played.
I think a confluence of factors maybe contribute to its decline. And I think maybe maybe there was no way out of it, but definitely the strategies that you indicated that they pursued, I think were definitely not a way out of it.
Yeah, they
was
they flooded the market.
squeezing
Like it made it
yeah.
seem lower and lower quality. It
Yeah.
just seemed more and more niche in a weird way. Like,
Yeah. No, that's definitely true. Again, I think as a party game, it comes down to like you just need one, right? Like you're not playing this every day. You're not playing this every week. Just when people are over and they want to play Rock Band, you would put the Rock Band. You don't need
yes, and it's
every Rock
like
Band.
once you have a good Rock Band and like a DLC catalog, like an online
Yeah.
catalog, then
Yeah.
you don't need to put out new games. But
Yeah.
they wanted to put out new games because they could market around it and hopefully get big like sales. But I don't think it really worked. I'm looking at all the Guitar Hero games.
There's probably like 50 now, aren't there? Like I feel like there's been so many.
Guitar Hero 5 was the last numbered one, I think.
Hmm.
Ah, yes, Rock the 80s. I had that one because I got it for free. Aerosmith.
What's your favorite
I
80s
believe
song?
Aerosmith was one of their first ones. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Well, what can you do?
Metallica, Guitar Hero Metallica.
I mean,
Hits,
the thing
smash
is, I can
hits.
see licensing those being easier.
Van Halen?
Like, but also like the audience, I feel like that has to hit a very narrow window. Like at this point, or even as of like 5 years ago, trying to sell Aerosmith to anybody gets you a very small.
Yeah, it's
portion
also
of
like
the
like what's the size of that audience? Like the only one
Yeah.
I could maybe get behind is the Beatles one because there's like a certain
Yeah.
universality of what people being into some Beatles songs, but I don't know.
Like old people. So I'm also very curious about this. Do you have any idea what the age distribution of Guitar Hero players were?
I don't remember. No.
Okay, because I would guess that it's still not going to be a lot of old people. And if you're selling songs that are targeted towards old people, you have a problem.
You mean
That's
there
not
is a
your audience.
mismatch between who is playing these video games and the
People who know the songs,
yeah,
or
like
like the
classic
songs?
rock
Yeah.
songs.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of hits in. I mean, there's always enough that people. I experienced that people always recognized enough to be interested, but
yeah. But do you
there's
know
a
any
huge amount of that content.
20-year-olds? You know, like people who are now 20 years old.
Now 20 years? No.
Yeah.
I mean,
So I think
I don't know anyone. I mean, why would I be a real creep?
I think Eric is like 22. So
shit.
you know, that's
Scary.
well, actually he's 12, but
Yeah, he's 12.
so I think there was a period, I think maybe it was sort of a victim of its own success in some way, because there was, I think, a period in 2010 when young people, it was still cool to like Metallica and Van Halen and classic rock, but I think that vanished into because that was when I was in high school, that was still like cool to some extent among young people, and I think it has since vanished into a cloud of dust.
I don't know. I think all this shit's gonna come back. I don't know. Like there's young people at my job that wear like Nirvana shirts and shit. Like it's cool again.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe I can see that.
But yeah, I know. I get what you're saying. And there's like a huge swath of popular music with EDM and hip hop and all kinds of stuff that just isn't represented well. I'm kind of wondering. There's not like a rap hero type game, is there? I guess
no.
you can't really detect. The games can't really detect. They can detect notes, but they can't really tell if you're like spitting rhymes to the fullest extent.
I think they probably could. That doesn't seem too hard.
Yeah?
I mean, Rock Band exists, right? Like, I don't think that's.
Yeah, but they don't judge
you
you
don't get a
based on like how well you are articulating shit. You don't. You can just
Do
go.
they not?
No, you can just go.
Okay. I see. I think there are like, I think the karaoke scoring system does do a little bit of that. So I don't think it's that hard.
A lot of that shit is pretty. Maybe you're right. Maybe there's stuff I haven't seen, but a lot of that software is pretty weak. Like putting
I
any
agree.
extra like flair on what you're singing is not going to be appreciated by the computer. It's like if you if you do a trill of going up and down a bit over a note that the original
I get
artist
that,
didn't,
but-
they're like, oh, that's wrong.
I get that, but Rap Hero I think doesn't have to be particularly good either. If it's
Yeah, I
a
mean, as
Rap
long as
Hero
it's just
game.
fun to. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
So I'm guessing. So tangent time.
Oh,
Um,
we don't do those.
So Maroon 5 played the Super Bowl halftime show in I think 2020 or 2021,
Okay.
and people got really mad because for a long time, well, people have been mad for a long time, but for a long time, the Super Bowl. So the NFL is a old white people business, yeah, and for a long time, there's been a big disconnect between the artists that were invited to the Super Bowl halftime show and what people are actually listening to.
Right. It
in
seemed like the
particular-
old white guy music.
In particular, there
Rolling
have
Stones
been
and shit.
no to very low representation of hip hop or anything of like
Yeah.
young people culture at all for basically until people got really mad at Maroon 5,
Yeah.
how bad it was,
Kneel,
and how
kneel for the lost, stand for the flag. What was it?
what?
Never mind. Sorry, go on.
Anyway,
I'm just
people-
talking about why
so-
the NFL is like a old white man thing.
Oh, yeah,
Because
yeah.
all the during the Black Lives Matter protests, everyone was like, "It's un-American."
Yep. And they still, well, we don't have to get into that.
We just want these black people to hurt each other. That's it.
So anyway, after Maroon 5 and the uproar, they finally partnered with Tidal, and I think it was last year, maybe it was 2 years ago in the Super Bowl show, they jammed like 15 years of underrepresented black people into the halftime show, which is kind of funny.
Really?
So that was where 50 Cent came back, and
He's back.
I think, I don't remember the whole list, but it was like all the really popular famous artists had never gotten invited to the Super Bowl halftime show because the NFL was like, people listen to this music? Nah.
Yeah,
I think people like the Foo Fighters. Like that's what people are into. So
There was some HR meeting where they're like, all right, let's get all these guys in.
no, well, that I think that was by design. I think that was like Jay-Z's doing to get all these people in, not like because they partnered with Tidal, which is Jay-Z's label.
Okay.
So I think that was like by design, and Kendrick played All Right, which I think was obviously part of the message as well,
What? Explain. I don't understand.
So this is
I don't know
during
that song.
so Kendrick Lamar, rapper,
I'm vaguely aware.
my favorite rapper, by the way, which
Oh, really?
if you ever accuse me of being a hipster, you should look at my catalog. He has a song called All Right, which was sort of an anthem during the George Floyd protests.
How's that go?
Huh?
Can you hum a
We
few
gonna
bars?
be all right?
Keep going.
I don't remember. the
Okay,
song.
no, okay.
I'm not gonna perform.
All right, go
it.
on,
You
go
can
on.
Listen to it. We'll leave it as an exercise for the reader.
Say all the words.
Anyway, so I think it was pretty clear that it was planned to sort of. It was definitely not.
They saw the
they were
way
not
the
there
wind
to
was
be-
blowing.
Yeah, they were not there to be as token representation. Basically, they were many of them were making statements. Anyway, I wonder if Guitar Hero was also influenced by very similar factors, where all the board members, who are all old white guys, got into a room and were like, "Hey, what's the most popular music that people will buy? Kids will buy?" They're like, "Oh, I love Aerosmith." They were like, "Yeah, I love Aerosmith too. Aerosmith sounds good."
I mean, they did a lot of. I don't want to defend them too much, but they did look at like. I'm not real familiar with music, but I don't know, Billboard Top 40 or whatever. They looked at the sales numbers and worked from there. But on top of that, not only did the executives have that additional, like, most of them were older white men and talking about music they thought was popular, like you say. But there's also, they wanted to partner with bands that they wanted to meet and hang out with, literally. Like, I want to meet,
Okay.
famous musician. So we're gonna
Axl Rose.
I want to meet Axl Rose or
Mick Jagger.
Mick Jagger. That's it. That's the word. That's the guy I was looking for. And so, like, I want to be able to post a picture of me with him.
John Lennon.
Yeah, with John Lennon. Yeah. If only we'll dig him up and bring him to the party. Yeah, so
No, he's still alive.
hanging out with yeah, sure. I know. He's he and Elvis.
He's hanging with Elvis.
Yeah.
Yep.
What was I saying? Yeah, but hanging out with executives wanting to hang out or be perceived as cool by association is huge. Like that is a huge part of the what motivates a Bobby Kotick or others similar to that. Like how can I get a celebrity to come to my parties, basically? And
Kodak just taking strays today. Just
using him as the example. I mean, he's sort of the example of the.
wait, is he the one that got indicted for something, or is that someone else?
Indicted for something? I don't know. He's the CEO of Activision.
Yeah.
Kotick indicted.
He got.
I did everything right,
no.
and they indicted me.
No, probably not.
Basically, there was the sexual misconduct allegations.
Oh, okay.
And there was a lot of information about how he was well aware this was happening.
I see.
He's a piece of shit. Sorry, Bobby, if you're listening. I don't think he's listening.
I mean, I'm not afraid of his opinion, though. I'm afraid of litigious acts.
I haven't said anything.
I doubt that one.
Yeah.
I was going to say something. Anyway, I would maybe guess that that's one of the factors that got something like that made something like Rap Hero not get off the ground, right?
I don't know for sure, but I that sounds plausible. It sounds very plausible.
Just because even if it's not something conscious, I think maybe there was just enough unconscious bias that every little hurdle became like, oh well, the technology is not there yet. Whatever, we don't want to pursue this, something like that. And I would guess that maybe that's.
I mean,
happened.
So with
or a part of it.
So I mean, their answer to this stuff was probably DJ Hero. It was trying to make it another line of games that could fit EDM and maybe even some hip hop, depending. But it was like, at that point when we had already sold all these other plastic instruments, to sell another thing that was just for this game. You've seen the turntable, right? Like,
yeah, we talked about this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Kotick designed the package with the ham and egg, bacon and eggs. I got a copy of DJ Hero and I really liked it. It's fun, but it's like if I didn't get it for free, would I pay? What was it, like $80 or something to buy it? No, probably not. No, I'd just see if some other person bought it and maybe play at their house.
And I think how much of that was influenced by the perceived need to sell this stupid plastic peripheral? Because, you can play Rap Hero without any peripherals, potentially. Maybe, I guess microphone.
With microphone, but yeah, that's like simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much of it was just like, hey, to make a new Guitar Hero game, we need to sell a plastic piece of trash to go with it.
The mega success of Guitar Hero definitely clouded their judgment, and they were basically like, we can tack on another, like, what costs us, $1.50 to make, it's another $30 to buy or whatever.
Yeah.
Because they also did it with their Tony Hawk ripoff, the Skate series. There was a skate game where they made a peripheral plastic skateboard for you to like stand on and do ollies and shit, which is like, no one can do that.
I don't know about this, but it sounds insane.
I don't play Tony Hawk because I can do that shit. I play it because it's easy to use a controller to do all kinds of crazy stuff.
That sounds so incredibly insane that I don't know what to say. So first of all, you can't do most skateboard tricks without moving.
Okay,
yeah?
Go on. Yes.
Oh, you can do an ollie, I think, if you're not moving, but like,
I mean, it was all like the motions that you did on the board.
Oh, you just like went back and forth,
right? Like if I do an ollie, all I'm doing is like leaning back and popping the tip up or whatever.
Oh, okay.
But even that shit's pretty hard to like. You need to like have some coordination to do that.
Did you have to send did you have to send a waiver before you bought this that like if you injure yourself, like tip over on the stupid skateboard, you don't sue them?
Probably. There's probably like a accept our terms of service at the beginning. That's like, you can't sue us for anything.
This sounds so stupid. Like, this is like, I don't even have a better word to describe it for you than just sounds stupid.
Yeah,
This,
I think
so, like,
that's
everything
right.
that's wrong with every like marketing focus group idea that's ever existed.
I mean, they were like, what
Uh,
else? What other shit can we sell? I guess so. That's what happened.
uh,
Here's a picture of it. Let's see.
let's take a look.
It had a sensor on the front, on the back, on the and
This
two
is a
sides.
snowboard. Okay, well, if it's a snowboard,
Oh, but yeah,
it makes a little.
yeah.
more
There's no
sense to
literal
me.
wheels that you're on.
There's no-
That would be even.
Okay,
What are we doing?
all right, yeah. I want to add something here to
Please,
change the topic.
please.
One of the most profitable and popular rhythm game implementations that currently exist is the rhythm gotcha game, specifically the idle rhythm gotcha game with an idle with an O, not with an E.
Like,
Are you
is that
familiar with these
Idolmaster?
games?
Is that
Yeah, it is Idolmaster.
okay?
So the main ones are.
I was a little
there's
too
two
embarrassed
huge-
to buy that.
Yeah, well, Idolmaster is not in English. So there's three huge franchises that currently exist. One is Idolmaster, and the other is Love Live. These two are both almost entirely in Japanese. I think there's been one Love Live game that's in English, and then they have like a whole series of games and like all kinds of weird peripheral stuff that I don't fully understand. And then in the West, there's a Korean game called Bong Dream or Bang Dream or Bandori.
Bong Dream, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. So very unfortunate name, but that's
PC Bong.
yeah, PC Bong Dream. So these are rhythm games that have the gotcha mechanics as well as some of the mechanics we might talk about later with like activating your skills or whatever. But these are sort of you're basically playing like an idol group in many ways.
So how is
like,
gotcha implemented? Like, what are you unlocking?
So I don't know about Idolmaster and Love Live, but in Bond Dream, you have like bands and band members. By the way, I think Bong is supposed to be like band. So the Korean name is Bandori, or maybe the Japanese name is Bandori, and I think it's like supposed to be Band Dream, but they decided to anyway.
Right, they're using sort of an English
Yeah, very weird
thing. Yeah.
naming. Anyway, the gotcha is you have all the characters unlocked and like you're playing their stories and stuff, but you unlock their outfits. So you're gotcha for outfits.
Yes.
Yeah, sort of cosmetics, but it's also power in some sense.
Oh, does it
'cause
change the
outfits have
gameplay
stats.
level? Oh, okay.
No, it doesn't change the gameplay, but they have stats and they have like bonuses and skills and stuff that make higher score in rhythm game, and then
Okay.
rhythm game have high score and get bigger reward with higher score.
Yeah, they do that in the
Standard
Miku games
thing.
as well, like unlocking
Yeah,
costumes. They had a really fun mechanic in one of the games where about 3/4 of the way through every song, if you nailed like the basically like the star power part, you get to do a costume change mid song, and she warps and
Amazing.
and turns into whatever other bullshit you
Magical girl
put her
transformation.
in. Yeah,
Yeah, I see. It's cool.
I mean that's.
Anyway,
Oh, go on.
I was saying, anyway, these are pretty profitable and these are big. These have spawned like especially Idolmaster and Love Live have spawned like huge ecosystems almost. Like if you go into in Japan, if you go into like a hobby store, like there's like posters and figurines and media, and they have like anime and stuff. It's become huge.
I mean, it is anime based, right? Like it's a very anime looking game.
I think the game came for the anime, but the game itself is basically a visual novel, right?
Yeah,
That's
it's
sort of
all anime characters and graphics.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that's
But
certainly one reason why it hasn't come over to the West, and also the fact that it's usually like we're talking like high school girls usually, like.
I mean, fictional high school girls.
Yeah, okay, but it gets squicky for some people, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I understand. But I would say the model itself is sustainable if the ecosystem is right. So I would guess, if we go back to Guitar Hero, it could have been sustainable if instead of trying to sell new games and new peripherals, it was a DLC based model, basically.
So that's kind of where Rock Band went, though. That's kind of what they did. And
did it survive or did they die? I'm curious.
I don't know. I mean, all of that, in my impression is all of that sort of just faded out, but that Rock Band did better from a software, like from that perspective of like but that it often turned out it's like, well, you buy, when you really get down to it, very few people are buying huge catalogs. They're just cherry picking the songs they like, and then that's kind of what they have. And so there's just only so much you can charge them.
Yeah, that's, well, I don't know. If you charge them, well, yeah. I guess pricing is difficult.
I'm a
in
little
these
out
kind
of my
situations.
element here. I don't really know how it sort of ended.
Yeah, makes sense. Pricing, I mean,
Should I play Idolmaster?
pricing is one of those things where, sorry, what'd you say?
Should I play Idolmaster?
I don't think you can. You can play
Really?
Gondori if you're interested. I don't think there's any English implementation of Idolmaster anywhere. You'll have to work a little harder to be able to play
Why
it.
do I know of it so well then?
Maybe, well, do you perhaps browse sites where fan art
I don't,
of characters is often posted?
I don't actually know.
Okay.
I thought I'd seen it on Steam or some shit.
There might be some now.
No, you're right. No, it's not. You're right.
There is Love Live. Love Live does
Love
exist.
live. Love live. Live a live?
But
No. Oh, I've been meaning to play that. Anyway.
yeah. Bandori is the one that's more accessible, but I think it's also kind of old and perhaps outdated.
Okay.
What was I gonna say? Oh, I was gonna say like pricing. Pricing is one of those things that it's hard for me to like. Pricing is so concrete, right? Like it's really hard to reason about. If you sell the game for like $5 cheaper, like what exactly will happen? Like wouldn't that be good or bad? It's like it's so concrete that it's hard for me to just say like, oh, a DLC model probably was better. It's like I don't know. There's some
Yeah. I mean, companies now have a way to do like that sort of sliding scale. They can kind of tell when they put something on sale what it boosts and stuff like that. But like when you're talking about games that require a peripheral, that means you require a retail shelf, and there's just so much more overhead that goes with that. Extra costs and shit.
Speaking of which, arcade games don't exist here, but that's also where most rhythm games live these days.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they don't really exist here. They don't bring new games over here. There's more like throwback arcades. Yeah, there's some new games, but I don't see
There
a
are
lot.
some places. So
It's just not
basically
like it was
the
in the
arcades for
90s.
weebs.
Yeah.
There's arcades for weebs and there's arcades for Americans. The latter definitely don't have anything new. The
Yeah,
arcades for weebs, I think, are pretty.
Are they? Do they exist in LA? I know they're in Portland. There's some good ones I've gone to.
Allegedly, Round One has
That's in LA.
all the rhythm games that you would want.
Those are nice.
When I was in Vancouver,
Oh,
that arcade seemed relatively well stocked.
I want to go
think.
to there. Play the guitar.
Maybe.
Yeah, arcade game. Have you played many of the arcade rhythm games?
Not many, but when I have played them, I've enjoyed them. I think they're a very. In fact, that's sort of what survives in arcades here. That's kind of why people go to arcades, I think, is to play the rhythm games.
Yeah, I guess so. Like Dance Dance Revolution really was everywhere. Was in a lot
Dance
of
Machine.
places for a while.
Yeah.
And for a while, it was a way that, like, I was good at it, or good-ish. I could not compete with the people at the my college arcade who were just insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I remember for years just being like, I remember being visiting LA before I lived there, going to the Santa Monica Pier, and the arcade there had a DDR machine, and playing it and having a good time with the friends I was with, and some people weren't even game players, but they had a great time, and we're like, oh wow, this is cool, and dorky, but cool.
Yep.
That's also something interesting. This was never. We kind of went back and forth between trying to portray these games as, oh, you'll be like a cool rocker, versus like, no, this is just a fun fantasy to, it's like karaoke.
Yeah.
And I think the latter was a better route to go. I think the trying to make it cool when you have a plastic fucking guitar with 5 buttons on it is just like, you're not gonna get past that. This reminds me, I remember when Guitar Hero was first out, before I had it, this was just after college when I didn't have like a place to even put a game console. I I worked in downtown Minneapolis at a ad agency, and in downtown Minneapolis there are. Have we talked about this? The Skyways.
The Skyways.
Yeah.
We've talked about it. Yeah.
The habit trails that go between all the buildings, and it's basically like a long, confusing mall walk. So a lot of places had Guitar Hero like demo stations, like at GameStop or even and Best Buy and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd go like on my lunch break and lonely play these things. And I remember once being at Best Buy and playing the guitar, and like there were these three girls, young women, who came up to me and were like mocking me for playing. It was like, you're not playing a real guitar, right? Like, this is so dorky, and like that kind of thing. And
yeah, that sounds like my Midwest experience.
Is that a Midwest thing?
Well, I don't know about these days, but
East Coast
basically
would be
fits
even
my.
worse. Oh, that
sure,
fits your experience.
That fits my experience from the Midwest. Yeah, pretty much.
Mocking the nerds.
Yep.
And of course, I had the killer comeback of remaining quiet and ignoring them.
It's pretty good. That's a pretty good strategy.
Yeah. Anyway, that's that. We were talking about
nowadays. I think the best strategy is to take out your phone, start recording them. Just not say anything and just start recording them as they're mocking you
to show
and just seeing what happens.
Show who's the bad guy. Really, the people will decide.
I think it actually works quite well because they get really confused because they're not really used to those kind of things happening. They're used to like being insulted or being ignored. When you start,
have you done this? Is this something you've done?
No, but it'd be really funny.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I mean, in California, people don't. That doesn't really exist anymore. People kind of just silently judge you, or like.
You don't have people making fun of you. I mean, I was also like young enough that I looked like a kid that they were like thought they could do that, and they could.
Yeah. Well, what can you do?
This also reminds me. Before we move on from, I want to talk more about arcade stuff, but Dance Dance Revolution. I think I mentioned this in another episode, but I was on the homecoming court. Like I was one of the couples that you voted on for homecoming king and queen. I was the joke.
Doesn't sound like beta behavior to me. That sounds like alpha behavior.
I was the joke entry. And I wanted to play a song from DDR as our like everyone got like an entrance dance thing. And I tried to get Boys. I don't know if you remember this song, but it goes like boys, boys, be my boys. I want to feel your body. Boys, boys, be my boy. Tonight I'm ready, honey. Immediately rejected. They did not let me. They did not let us play that because of the sexual content. So we played Boom Boom Dollar, which I have no idea what that means. I can't sing that song, but it was a fun song to dance to, so we did that. I also I don't know if you know the famous Butterfly song. I think that's a Smile DK. How's that go?
I know the other famous Butterfly song, Crazy Town.
I don't know what that is. Oh, You're My Butterfly.
Yeah. Something
lady.
Baby.
There's this Be My Butterfly. It was like, Where's My Samurai? It was like a Europop thing that is a little Japanese weeby.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. That was also rejected because of some sexual content. But we also, in those early games, we got a copy of DDR before it was out in the West. We had a friend who had bought a pirate copy and like knockoff pad in China on some trip to China. And we could also like alter the game files. So like the backgrounds we could put in our custom backgrounds, and we just did stupid shit that we thought was funny. But like I remember there was one where it was just like a background that said "Show me your dance," and we edited the file to say "Take off your pants." And so that was a little fun we had when playing that song.
Did you take off your pants?
I can't get into that on the air.
I see. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Anyway, the end.
Cool.
So also arcade stuff. I want to hear what you've played, but I love that taiko drum game with the big ass taiko drums.
Very
and the
very
sticks.
Fun. Even for non-rhythm game players, big appeal. That's usually what when we were at the arcade. That's usually what so Mango is a rhythm game player. That's usually his gateway to get people that don't play rhythm games into playing something. Is the Taiko game.
Okay.
It's very fun for people who are not into the hardcore.
And it's like there's 4
read rhythm
or
games.
6 actual moves in the game or whatever that are pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
like
but
right,
it's like
left.
it's very physically pleasing game to play.
Yes,
I think.
it's fun to bang on a drum with big sticks.
Yeah. Taiko in real life is also really cool, by the way. If you
I've never really
hard to find. But,
seen a performance or.
yeah, I mean they're on YouTube, but I got to see one live when I was in Japan at a street festival that I happened to be contemporary with, and it was really cool.
I saw a performance of
top experience.
what's that big stringed instruments that's like you lay it down on your lap and
A harp?
the Japanese instrument.
A lute?
No,
Is that a Japanese instrument?
kodo. It's a kodo.
I don't know what that is.
Okay.
Can't say I'm aware.
Anyway, I saw that in
That's
Kyoto.
That's a unit in Warcraft 3 that eats in their units and digests them slowly.
Koto?
Yeah.
Warcraft
it's a
3?
Kodo. Yeah.
I guess I dropped
an
off
orc
after
unit.
Warcraft 2.
Kodo beast.
Goblin Sappers was the newest thing.
What was I gonna say?
Taiko drums?
Oh yeah. So arcade games are cool. I mean,
Taiko drums?
I played Trinithm. That's if we were. I mean, not. I don't really play it, but I did play it when I went to.
Wait, what's it called?
The arcades. Trunithm.
Trunithm?
So it's like CHU, and then CHUNI, and then THM, as in rhythm.
Okay, go on. What is it? What is it?
And then but there's. Oh, it's a game with a 3D sensor. So in addition to tapping the touchscreen, you also lift your hands in the air and wave them around.
So a little dancing?
Like you just don't care.
Sort of?
No. It's you just smack the air.
So it's just
there's
like
a 3D
throwing
sensor.
your hands around.
It's even simpler than that. There's basically a bar
Uh-huh.
on the ground, or on the what do you call it? The desktop.
Uh-huh.
That you tap, and then there's also actions where you move your hands slightly up into the air and you wave them around to do other actions.
So motion control-ish stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember like a full-size sensor game that you moved your whole body that was similar
Have
to
you
that.
played Beat Saber?
I have played Beat Saber. That's pretty fun, although, after a while, any VR game, you want to get that thing off your head. But it's it's satisfying. Yeah. Have you?
Yeah. No, I can't do
Oh,
any
of course
VR.
not. Yes.
I immediately die.
puke.
It's like instant death.
Yeah, it's fun. It's kind of like, getting to do lightsaber shit, and also it's a rhythm game. So yeah, I love that shit.
Yeah. So I think there's a future here. I mean, the basic implementation is simple enough. I think the key is that you just have to find something that feels good to do. Like I think some of the most successful games are like Taiko or Beat Saber, like recent successful ones, where the gameplay is the same pretty much, but you're connecting with some kind of physical action that makes it really good.
Yeah,
Feel good to play.
There's motion sensing games still generally are bad.
Yeah.
IMO. Like there's a delay. There's a lack of precision. There's a delay.
Yeah.
That makes it so dancing or music related games just don't quite work usually. They have workarounds. Like Just Dance basically is like only looking at your pose every couple seconds or whatever, and everything else is you're just doing it for fun. It's not really sensing you. This reminds me, at our wedding, our Star Wars themed wedding, we had the Kinect Star Wars dance game, which was a lot of fun. But it's basically like
That's funny.
it doesn't. Normal people can play it, but there's a clear frustration with the sensors that just makes it.
Yeah.
It's never gonna be. We're never gonna come back to it because it's like, well, it's good, but it's just off enough that it doesn't feel satisfying like a Taiko drum game does.
Yeah. I think that is a key. I had a similar experience when playing Just Dance, as well as some of the. There is a lot of arcade games that, like early ones, like 2010-ish era ones, that sort of do a worse version of motion sensing, and I think I had a very similar experience. In general, like touch controls and like motion controls feel really bad if they're not done really well, I think, compared to something that's more tactile.
Yeah,
I think
and there's
historically, if you look at the most successful games, it's like DDR, Guitar Hero, Rock Band, and then Osu you play with a keyboard and a tablet, which especially the keyboard part people care a lot about, and you can customize that.
But yeah, when you get down to it, you're pressing a button.
Yeah, you're pressing like a physical button.
Yeah.
And that, I think, even for something like DDR, even though you're not pressing a button, just like you feel like you have a much better, because it's like a timing thing, right? It's like a very precise timing and feel thing. So having good feedback, I think, is very important.
Have you ever watched
having these games feel good?
I totally agree. Have you ever watched people who actually like dance well doing DDR?
No.
They occasionally put them in marathons and speedrunning marathons where they'll have like a DDR team like play a marathon thing. And
wait, these are like professional dancers that play DDR, or really good DDR players?
It's a combo of both. There are some who
okay.
are actual dancers, and you can tell when they get on there they actually have moves and do stuff that's not really needed for the game, but it's way more entertaining.
Okay, that's cool.
That's fun to watch. I like that because usually it's way more like in the arcades you see the guys like holding onto the bar,
yeah,
like tapping their feet, and
Yeah.
they're not dancing. They're like it's almost like it's
Well.
closer to tap dancing or pressing a controller with your feet.
I mean, yeah, that is what it is basically.
Yeah.
So
Did you ever play Para Para Paradise? Do you know that one?
no, that does not sound familiar.
There's like a Para Para dance in Japan. I don't know. It's basically motions. There's basically like two hockey puck things that you can swipe over or
okay.
under, and
This sounds vaguely.
and so you're kind of
familiar.
dancing like this. It's sort of reminded me of what the thing you mentioned sort of reminded me of that of the motion control game. You can wave your hand around.
Yeah, I think there is. On that note, I think there is space here for VR. I mean, Beat Saber already exists and it's doing fine, I think.
I would love,
But
honestly, I would love just a straightforward rhythm game where I'm literally holding a controller, but the experience I'm living a music video, in the VR.
have you seen? You know who Porter Robinson is?
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen Digital Second Sky?
I don't think so.
That's kind of his. I mean, it's not really the same. There's no game play, but that's sort of the project. The project's goal is to like go to a festival in a digital space and look at stuff.
I'll take a look at that. I wonder. I want to see that.
That seems like something you'd be interested in. It's obviously not like super in depth because it's for one event, but there are people who are imagining that kind of.
But I would love to just feel like I was inserted into a Miku thing.
Yeah.
I'm flying through the sky or whatever.
We're clipping that one.
I want to be inserted into a Miku. Hatsune Miku game, one of those music videos where she's flying through the clouds and rainbows and shit. Aliens.
Would you just want to experience it, or do you want to like dance on the stage or whatever?
It doesn't really. I'm not a dancer. I like to dance to music I really like, but I don't want to perform it. I don't have any.
So you kind of just want to like play the rhythm game, but just look at all the cool stuff.
Yeah, I want to be like flying
basically
around.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and fireworks to be going off. I want to go on a roller coaster, but I'm also like making it happen, and it sounds better when I play better or whatever. You rapping cool.
I think there's space for this, and I think there's a lot of room to make that happen specifically. That seems like something that's...
Well, before we segue into the future of these things, one thing I want to ask you about a little more is the Osu stuff. Have you ever... I want to talk about the concept of flow, of being in the zone.
Okay.
Have you experienced such a thing where you... normally you get to a level of competency with whatever technical thing you're doing, in this case, Osu or whatever.
I have a lot to say.
That you no longer are... You are feeling your way through it. You're no longer thinking about individual things. You're so good at it. You become one with the music. You make moves without having to think about them, sort of thing. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. So let's I want to address these in order, I guess.
Okay.
So the answer to your question is not in Osu, for a very specific reason, which is why after I played Theatrhythm, I actually don't like Osu standard. The flow state changes based on the context of what you're doing. So I think that what you're describing can really is something that's often limited in gaming terms. It's often limited to either a game you've played a lot, like if you're speedrunning something and it's mostly muscle memory at that point, but or something like a rhythm game where it's very, very much, it's like 99.9% execution, and the thinking part is like is only at the beginning when you're like trying to figure out the controls or learning how to read the map or whatever.
Yeah, once
right?
you get the reactions, once you get the muscle memory, there's nothing else really you have to do. So it works well for a flow state.
Yeah. But I think the flow state can also appear in games where you don't have that exactly. Like I think maybe in a flow state playing League of Legends,
sure,
for example, it just expresses itself differently. You're not thinking, but what you're doing is you're fully locked in on the game itself, right? Like you
acting on your honed instinct.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not that it becomes pure instinct. It's that you don't feel confused about anything that's happening. When someone dies mid, you're like, it doesn't take you out of the state. You understand what that does to the state of the game, right? You have a full map of the state of the game. And that's a similar experience to when people have a flow state at work, when you're not playing a game at all, right? That can also happen. And when you're in the state of work, you feel like you're fully concentrated and focused, and you're addressing things as they come up, and nothing really takes you out. Like no frustrations take you out of that state, or no.
I don't know that I've ever experienced that at work.
Yeah, well, you work in marketing, so that's a different can of worms.
Maybe getting into the flow of feeding raccoons. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Again, it's different depending on the types of work, but for something that's like engineering-ish, that's something that people talk about a lot, like how to
being one with the code,
a focused, not necessarily being. It's not really like a spiritual experience.
You don't even see the code anymore.
It's
just
experience.
Brunette,
like have you?
Redhead.
No, that's not correct.
Okay.
But have you done any mindfulness stuff? Have you done yoga or meditation or stuff?
Yes.
I think it's very similar to what you described there, where the distractions affect you differently once you're in some kind of state where like distractions and things and frustrations and emotions don't necessarily get in the way. You're fully focused and you're like in the present moment and you're addressing stuff as they come up.
Yeah, it also there's a definite comparison to playing games on drugs, where certain drugs like a hallucinogen, like a mushroom or an acid, would make your coordination worse, make your perception different and off. But if you're good enough at the game, there starts to be you can just get into the flow. Like I stop recognizing that I'm holding a controller and I start embodying whatever the character is or whatever, you know? And
exactly.
Like my wife doesn't play many games, for example, and when she tries to play even a really simple game on drugs, she's like, I can't. Like, I don't even, this is so, it's too much. It's weird. And
it's because I think one of the keys is that one of the things that prevent you from doing that in a rhythm game, even though the gameplay is very simple, is that control layer, right? Like you have to have enough experience where you don't have to think about your controls ever again.
Yeah.
And then
I know where the fucking
once you have
is.
that completely down, you're able to do that. And if you're playing a game with a strategic element, I think it's very similar. Like you have to have enough understanding where you don't get lost or you don't get confused, right? It's like you've experienced something, you've experienced your mid laner dying before. And so you're not like, oh my God, now what? And you're trying to reprocess and rethink. You're in a state where you're able to have those things come naturally and you not lose your focus.
You've just got that level of experience.
And even for something like a puzzle game, it can be the same, right? Like you're able to, once you're familiar with the types of puzzles that are presented to you, you're focusing on the solution rather than learning about how the puzzles work. And I think it's the latter that can take you out of that state, for example.
Yeah, exactly. And I played quite a few music games in like a high situation. I could do the Guitar Hero, probably couldn't do the drums. Never got that good at it. But like I love a Hatsune Miku game because there's just crazy visuals going on, and it's just you know, it's fun.
That is one. I guess we kind of glossed over this. Well, I guess we talked about plenty, but the appeal of the visuals I think is important to keep in the game if you ever wanted to have any mass market appeal.
For sure, especially if it's like a game where you're either it's either a party game or it's a kind of game that you like pass back and forth, or Just you want something for the audience to see, and a black background
Yeah.
Osu map is, unless you're
Yeah. You have to be an Osu player.
you have to be like, oh
right?
shit.
And that's sort of what it is. Oh man, I had something else I wanted to say too.
About flow?
I guess we can about playing a rhythm game making you feel cool.
Oh,
I think it's possible. I think a lot of people want to be DJs.
So
I think you can.
Don't get me wrong. We talked about how you being cool is not really. There's no truth to that. You're not going to be cool, but you do feel cool, like no doubt. Like playing a full band song and like getting 5 stars. You can get into it. You feel like, oh shit, this feels. I feel like I'm playing for an audience, even though it's just a game.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's so. This is completely unrelated, but I think this will be a good demonstration of how what do you call it, socially anxious I am. I thought of this cool product back when I was going to like festivals more often. I thought of this cool product, like, why don't you just make a little shower cube, a little phone booth that people can step into, and then you can play like cool festival visuals and festival music, and people can dance by themselves in your little phone booth.
But it's a private experience?
Yeah, but it's a private experience. No one can see you.
There's not actually a shower.
No, there's no shower.
I was into this element. It's like
there could be.
It's like a real Burning Man attraction.
I do want a shower that that
has
a very advanced has speakers and stuff.
Yeah, me too. I would love a speaker in my shower and like
they
colored
exist,
lights.
but you have to get them custom.
They're
actually not that expensive, but
I'm a sucker for color changing rainbow LEDs, so I kind of want to just put them everywhere.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that's, you can have that kind of experience where you feel cool or whatever, but yeah, it's a little harder than the alternative.
Yeah, you definitely feel cool and it's fun, but just don't think that you're actually going to look cool. Don't take it out onto the street and start playing your plastic guitar.
People that do that with real guitars are, the meme about Wonderwall guy freshman year of college?
No.
This is a common meme that there's always
a guy who brings a guitar to the party and plays Wonderwall.
Or who sits in the quad in the middle of the student quad and just plays Wonderwall. You learned Wonderwall for this one moment.
It is a fun song to sing.
Anyway, back to Osu. So when I first started playing Osu, I expected to get exactly what you described. I expected to get to a state where I was good enough that I could just play songs without any stress. Like, it would be chill. I would just be good enough that I could play songs like slightly more difficult level, no stress, just do good, right? And like play them for fun. That never happened because I was constantly stressed about messing up my combo. So as the point of these things often is to get a full combo, right? Or high accuracy.
Oh, and like one mistake sets you way back, kind of thing.
Yeah. So like the goal when you're playing a song over and over, this is true of all rhythm games, including Guitar Hero, is like you're trying to do the whole song
a little
perfectly.
Bit, but if you get a perfect 8 times star power run, it's a huge advantage to doing well.
Yeah. To the score. And that's important, I think, because if you don't have any way the player can fail or succeed, then there's no difference between trying to play the game and just having a kid like randomly press the buttons while the song goes by, right? Like I
do like the Rock Band later added a no fail mode where you never fail. Great for people who suck at games.
Yeah. I think there's room for that, but I think a lot of the appeal of the game is like, I'm really good at this song. Let me practice it some more and get better at it and get a perfect on it, right? So unfortunately for me, when I was playing Osu, like that never went away. Like that pressure, like no matter how easy or hard or what type of song or whatever, like
there's always an anxiety element.
Yeah, as soon as I start doing well, the anxiety always creeps in, and then if I fail, I feel like I'm wasting my time and I want to restart. So
you want to restart, meaning you want to play more though.
I want to play more, but I don't want to play the rest of the song for fun.
I see.
For enjoyment.
You stop
I want
midway.
to just restart the song.
I see.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, just that
So
added element of having to aim is it's an extra. It's a real hard layer of
yeah,
complication
it's
to get into that
yeah,
flow.
for sure. Well, the aiming is not too bad. I mean, you kind of get used to it. I mean, in most rhythm games, by the time you're at a higher difficulty in your experience, you're looking ahead, right? You're not looking at what is coming up next.
Yeah.
Like you're reading way ahead of time, and you're kind of just that's the state where it kind of feels good to be like, you understand everything that's happening in front. You're never stressed out about what's coming. You just happen to miss sometimes. And
Yeah, it's
get mad.
it's really fun to be able to play well, and that's a good statement. It's really fun to be able to play the beat map in such a way that it just feels like you're playing along to the music rather than reading button presses, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And that leads me to my next point, which is so in a beat map, your goal is to have a hit coincide with something in the song, right? Usually that's like, the beat of the drum or the guitar riff or the vocals sometimes or whatever, right? The goal is that you're doing something at an intuitive time when the instrument is doing something. In most rhythm games, you can have two actions mapped to the same moment or to the same thing. So if you're playing a band, for example, now Guitar Hero can't do this actually, although I guess it can because you can press two at the same time, right?
I don't know.
So there's like five colors. Okay, so there's five colors, right? But sometimes they ask you to press two or more of them at the same time.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Chords.
So in most Mania type games, you have like 3 to 7 of these that you can press at the same time. So when the guitar and the drum are both hitting at the same beat, you press two things, right? So like one is like you feel like, oh, this one is the drums. So right, so I can listen to the drums and be like, oh, I just have to tap this one at this frequency, and that's mapped to the drums. And then when the guitar comes in, I tap this other one, right? You have that mapping in your head of connecting the instruments that you hear to the beat. So you don't even have to look at the map. You kind of you can listen to the music and sort of play based on the music
if
and
it's
your intuitive understanding.
if it's done well. Too.
If it's done well. Yeah, if it's done well. Osu standard, when I came back to it after playing Trinithm, because I had a rhythm game fix, I realized that you can't do that because in standard you can only have one tap at a time.
Oh, okay.
So you can't tap two things at a time because it's mapped to your mouse click essentially, or a touchscreen touch, right? And because it's a PC game, it's not a touchscreen game. You can't tap two things at the same time. You can only click one thing at a time, and so that means the maps change what instruments they're mapped to, and that exploded my brain when I came back to it because I kind of took it for granted.
Okay.
So basically, one circle appears at a time, right? And at different times in the song, the beat map artist will map it to a different instrument. So if there's like a drum section, they map to the drums, and then
suddenly you're
but
playing
at some
the
point
drums.
when it switches, it suddenly switches at some point.
So now it
when they
feels
deem
like I'm
appropriate.
playing the guitar or the keyboard or whatever.
Yeah, now it's the guitar, now it's the vocals,
Yeah.
or now it's the other beat.
Okay.
And that kind of fucked up my brain when I came back because I was like, oh, this
Yeah,
actually
that is
sucks,
weird.
because
Or different
it
anyway.
totally took me out of the zone of trying to listen to the music, because
Yeah.
I was actually really bad at Osu accuracy. Accuracy is how well you hit to the beat. So if you're too late or too early, your accuracy goes down, even if you got a combo.
You're rapping bad.
And I think it's because I couldn't really map. I was sort of just clicking the circles as they came up. In fact, I sometimes played Osu without music. So I was sort of just reading the circles and clicking them without being able to map to the music all the time.
So were you
That's
just
my long
missing?
rant.
Were you missing a key element then, or
I think I was just. I think when I tried to map to the music, I would frequently get confused.
yeah, you'd keep going
And I
with
think this is not
an instrument that didn't
Yeah,
continue.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Huh.
So I think what I learned heuristically was just like, oh, just look at the circles, like, and have the music be a guide, but don't rely on the music as a first.
Yeah,
First order.
that's frustrating. That
By
would
the
be
way-
frustrating for me, I think.
Yeah. By the way, I think this is also not universal. Like I don't think I've talked to anyone else that feels like this,
Oh.
but I have this problem after playing Trinithm, which I felt really intuitively about, and going back to those two, I was like, oh,
Spell that game for me
play
one
this
more
game.
time.
Chuni.
Chuni rhythm.
Yeah. No, Chuni them.
Shunitham.
THM. Yeah.
Shunitham.
Yeah.
Japanese, of course.
Well, yeah. I mean, there is no alternative. It has to be.
I should check. I'm gonna watch a video on this later.
All right.
Should we look to the future, or to
Let's look at the future.
to the present end?
Okay, so
future?
I was very surprised to lead off the discussion. I was very surprised that you feel like there's not a lot of hybrids, because I feel like this is almost an overdone hybrid, just like taking a game and then putting.
I never said there's not a lot of
rhythm
hybrids. I just I said I
Okay.
want to see more gameplay hybrids,
Oh, you want to see more? Okay.
and that's true. I like
So
I
have
like
you-
that. I like Cadence of Hyrule. Like I like
Yeah, okay.
Crypt of the Necrodancer. Like combining music rather than just making it a. What are you repping your shirt there?
Yeah, this is the company that made Cadence of
Oh,
Hyrule.
is it? I didn't realize.
I happened to get their shirt at PAX. They gave it to me for free.
Did you play that game?
Yeah. No, I did not.
I mean,
I think I played it maybe once.
I'm a sucker for the Zelda music, so I played the whole thing a couple times, I think.
Are you a video game music guy?
Oh
Big
yeah,
video
yeah.
game music
I
guy?
used to be. I mean, I used to be much bigger, but like if we do a like, I really love to do a video game music like quiz, but if you get games past like 2010, I'm gonna start getting a lot worse at it.
Sure.
Just because there's so many games that I haven't played now. But like original Nintendo through PlayStation 2 and 3, I could probably do pretty dang good, I'd like to say. Sonic the Hedgehog 2, that's from. Yeah, I'm a video. Yeah, I mean, haven't you heard the songs that play at the end of our podcast?
Yeah, sure. I mean, those are mostly weird hip hop mixes, but yeah,
Yes, but there is a video game music. Are you?
yeah, there is video game. No, I play with almost all games muted, actually.
Well, that's a
actually
different
play
question.
very little.
So I usually in a single player game, I will play until I feel with the sound on and the music on until I feel like I've heard
until
it.
it plays for the seventh
Until
time.
I'm like, you know what? I've heard
Yeah.
this so many times. I'm gonna be listening to something else or whatever. I'm just playing this while listening to a podcast or some shit,
Yeah.
or just music. So yeah, definitely. Like Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, I muted after the first 50 hours
Yeah. Yeah.
because I'm like, all right,
No, that's
I've heard him
basically
go enough times as he swings his sword.
That's basically my complaint as well. Like for example, there is some games where I have played the music, but that's because they let me play different music. But yeah, whenever I try to play with music in games, around the fourth time I hear the same song, I'm just like, yeah,
And it depends. Like if there's a game where I'm like, ooh, I really like this music, I might play it a lot more. I wish I could think of an example of that recently though. I've often thought,
you know what?
oh,
Go ahead.
it's completely, it doesn't make any sense cost wise, but I've thought about I wish that games almost had like an option for genre of music to play, but it's like they'd have to write 4 soundtracks or whatever.
Yeah.
But
You can. I think everyone's answer to that would be just play your own fucking music at that point.
yeah,
you know,
you have the
it's not that
sound
hard.
still on, but play your own music. Yeah, but you
Yeah.
can't like match it up to the events of the thing.
I know, but like it's
Yeah.
the cost benefit seems so small for them. If I was a company, I'd just be like, just play your own music, man. Like I'm not my problem. Some games let you choose. So like RuneScape, old school RuneScape has a really cool feature jukebox, where since it's also nice because it's such a passive game, such a slow
Yeah,
game,
hanging out game.
that you can just click the songs that you've unlocked and just listen to whatever you want. I think that's really cool.
That is cool. They later Grand Theft Autos did that, where you could just put on PC anyway. You could make your own playlist for when you get in the cars.
I was going to say that one of the Saints Row 4, like games like Grand Theft Auto and Saints Row 4 that have like licensed music, I actually generally really like listening to.
Yeah,
Because you can like do.
but same deal. Like
radio
eventually, I've listened to every single radio channel,
that's
all
true.
their content, and I'm like, all right, I don't need to hear this funny quote unquote commercial again. And this song.
But well, the commercials are their own thing.
Yeah.
But I'm the type of person in real life that listens to the same music over and over when I'm into it. So that's not.
Yeah, I mean,
I enjoy it.
but yeah, like early games before I could do that or thought to do that, I of course know way better. You know, I know all the songs in Super Mario World, you know, backwards and forwards because I've played it 1,000 times and never without sound. But yeah, as you go
Also-
later, it is harder. There's certain games
Yeah,
if I expect the music to be good, like in a Final Fantasy game, Undertale, I never turn off the music because I think it's really good.
Okay, yeah.
That's a good example.
Undertale, Toby Fox music is like kind of a meme in the Osu community. Actually, there's a lot of Undertale remixes.
It's I think he is an amazing talent. I think he really knows how to do that video game music in a way that really lights me up, baby.
Get him on the show. I'm sure you know him, right?
Oh yeah, I know Toby
Personal-
Fox.
personal
I think
connection?
he's not a big like interview person. I think he's like a shy
No, he's
guy.
not. Yeah.
I'm a fan though. I would love to interview him.
What was I gonna say? Actually, the main reason historically that I kind of got used to playing with that music is that I had a original Game Boy, and then a Game Boy Advance, OG Game Boy Advance, non-rechargeable. So playing the sound drained your battery, and I had to conserve.
You couldn't
my
plug that
battery
in. It
use.
was only battery.
No.
Game Boy Advance.
Original, only the SP. The SP was the rechargeable one.
Okay, and then
The
and then
original
NDS
Game Boy Advance,
and all that.
the wide one, yeah, and then after that it was all rechargeable. But the wide Game Boy Advance.
I mean, I
no-
remember the
no
Game
batteries.
Boy Gray Brick.
Yeah.
You know, I think we got our first Game Boy as a present from Steven Spielberg for my brother.
Really? Oh, because you're okay. Interesting.
Yeah, different life.
All right, guys, listen. You're getting all the hints. You can track him down.
Yeah, I think you can figure it out by now.
You can figure out
Also,
who
I
he
say
is.
my name 10 times during it.
Well, that gets bleeped out.
Oh, okay.
You know.
Yeah, but let's. So you have a fair point. There are more. It does seem like the present and future seems to be this hybridization of stuff. Honestly, I would love to see a lot more of that.
Really? Okay. Because I actually think feels kind of cheap. I mean, it can obviously be done well, but I'm the type of person that likes innovative ideas, and I mean, I guess it counts, but something
Seems
like
pretty innovative
something
to
where
me.
you just put a. Yeah.
I
guess
mean, how do you
100%. Just
map
like
the
putting it in
controls?
the-
Right? Is it just like when you're playing a
Yeah.
shooter, for example, or different types of games?
So there is
Go on.
one here that I found. I had not heard of it before, but it's called Metal Hellsinger.
Oh, I looked that up when
That's
you told
very-
me about it.
Okay.
It's kind of it's like a heavy metal Doom
Yeah.
style shooter.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks kind of fun to me. I don't really like that kind of
Yeah.
music, so maybe not. But
Just switch it out. Get a mod that switches out the music for
Maroon
Hatsune
5,
Miku.
yeah.
Yeah, or Maroon 5. Yeah.
I might check it out though. That sounds kind of fun. The couple.
Hi-Fi Rush is similar, right? If you know
Say again.
that. Hi-Fi Rush.
Don't know that.
It's a recent. I don't know how rhythm it is. It's definitely. I feel like it's not as rhythm as Hellsinger, but I think it is pretty close. This one got really good reviews, I think, from what I know.
But I would like it as sort of an RPG thing. So, you know, like the Paper Mario games, the Mario and Luigi RPG games, they do
Okay.
timing-based shit throughout their games. Like, it's turn-based, but when you do
Yep.
your attack and Mario, like, jumps on the head of something, you got to hit the button in time to his jumps to make him
Yep.
do more. I would love if that were more timed to the music. Because a lot of those games
Oh,
are almost
okay.
there. Like the characters dance to the music of the battle and shit like that. Like why not just make it on the beat? So, Mother 3, Earthbound 2, which never was released here, does that where it's like when you do attacks and when you select menu things, if you do it in time to the music, you get bonuses and stuff. And like your moves change and the music changes in response to you doing it on beat. I loved that. That was like, you couldn't make a mechanic more designed for me to enjoy it like that. Because it's like, you know, RPG battles have a certain sameness to them, or turn-based battles can be a little bit samey, and that gives it a little bit of pizzazz to me.
Yeah, I agree. I also feel like turn-based generally sucks, and this is I think people feel like it sucks, but because of nostalgia they keep trying to convince themselves it doesn't suck, and by adding rhythm to it, they convince themselves that
Yeah, maybe
they don't hate
I'm a fan. I like turn-based because it's like I'm too fucking slow. I don't adding being not turn-based makes me start to be anxious. So
yeah, that's understandable. I think there it's not like it universally sucks,
but
I
there's
think
huge
it's
limitations, sure.
in many applications. Yeah. Anyway, I think who was it? I think Andy Lasso, who is a Zelda speedrunner,
Okay.
Link to the Past speedrunner, recently said something very similar, which is like there was some RPG that came out that he was like, yeah, if an RPG just has a button that or it has an attack that I use the rhythm or whatever, like I love that game. So
I think that
it's a known thing.
that works on me, and it's going to work for a long time.
Yeah.
Then there's also I want to play almost visual novel type games, or almost like music video type games that are just, rather than I play a song and then that's the end of the game or the match or whatever, and I move on to the next one, and that's a separate experience. Have you played Space Channel 5? Have you seen that?
No, what is
That was a
this?
Dreamcast game.
I did own a Dreamcast.
It is it's a music rhythm game, but it is all in the package of like you are a sexy space reporter, and you are, through your dance moves in different, spacey sci-fi venues, you recruit more followers who are also doing your dances and stuff. And in the end of each level, you have like a big crowd of whatever characters you met doing your dance moves and stuff. It's great. I want more shit like that.
So it's TikTok.
It's TikTok, except you're playing it the whole way through. And
Yeah.
Space Channel 5 has a special appearance by Michael Jackson as a playable character. So hide your kids.
I see. Very, very cool.
Anyway,
I
love that shit. I don't know. I assume it didn't do well, or else there'd be more games like it.
I think this is exactly the kind of, $15 indie game that you can probably find if you look hard enough.
I should look.
Especially things that are in development, because to me, this kind of game sounds great, but it sounds niche.
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah, for sure.
It just feels like unless it's literally Paper Mario, and even Paper Mario, I think, probably did not do nearly as well as mainline Mario.
Oh, no way. I mean, RPGs
even if
are
it
always
did
going to
very
be
well.
a smaller
Yeah, exactly.
cut.
But I just think this probably exists because there's a lot of people, I think, that feel exactly the way you do and want to make this game. Like, I think Cadence of Hyrule is a example, or like Crypto Necrodancer is a similar example.
Yeah.
Where there are people that want this experience, but it's just not something that can be made by Activision.
Yeah,
So
it's
work
really
real
just
hard.
not. It's going to have a limitation of
Yeah.
who wants to play that shit.
By the way, a game like I would be shocked if Undertale didn't have a lot of factors like this, right? Like, to me, Undertale seems like
If it didn't have
or it didn't have mechanics
rhythm
like
mechanics,
this. Yeah,
they have a couple of mini games, but
yeah.
no,
I mean,
not really.
also what you're describing feels to me basically like a mini game, yeah, where it's like you're combining a mini game with a story.
Yeah,
In your
yeah, but it's kind of the core game, though. It's just a simple game, simple gameplay.
and I think that's fine.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you a video of Space Channel 5. It looks like 3 years ago they made a VR version of it. I never even heard that.
Oh well, there you go.
It's basically like,
VR to your heart's content.
I mean, it's basically like, I like visualizers. I like, fucking.
Oh my God, visualizers!
I like
Did you
visualizers.
have Windows Media Player?
Yeah, I had.
Did you
What? Huh?
Did you use the Windows Media Player visualizers?
I might have. I don't remember. What was the one?
Those were
the game, the MP3 player, the early one that it kicks the llama's ass. Winamp.
What? Oh, Winamp.
I think that had some fun visualizers I liked in college.
I think you were right, but that was a long time ago.
Wow, yeah.
I think I used Winamp a little bit. I think I got a Golden Sun skin for Winamp.
Ooh, cool.
actually.
Yeah, they had skins.
It's kind of
That's
funny.
Sun skin.
But the Windows Media Player visualizers were, I mean, they're almost like they're kind of like the visualizer, a simple version of the visualizer you see at festivals.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like I want to do that, except I want it to respond to my button presses and shit, and make the colors explode or whatever.
I bet that exists, but I wouldn't be shocked if it doesn't exist.
does.
Like I feel like there's a lot of gaps right now where there's things that clearly I think would do well if they're implemented well, but just haven't gotten it.
And that's what I'm getting at. That's why I'd love to see that shit. And this is reminding me, there's a whole series of games that I'm forgetting the name of that are similar to this that I wanted to like much more than I liked because the music was kind of bad in these games. Or wasn't the music was bad, it was that they had overwhelming in-game sound effects that were playing that made it so the music was not enjoyable. And I was always kind of blown away by how they could do that. Like, what are you doing? God, I wish I could remember these games. What? God, I can't remember them. I'll do a patch notes about them afterwards.
Okay, yeah, we'll figure it out. Have you seen Melatonin?
No. What's that?
This might be something you're into. I don't even know how to describe it. I've seen some VTubers play it. It's a rhythm game. It's similar to Rhythm Heaven, I think, but in a more chill way. You might like it. Check it out.
All right. What's
very good reviews.
What's the name one more time? I'm writing that.
Melatonin. This one you can spell, I'm sure of it.
I can. We have another melanistic squirrel came in the other day. Meaning
nice.
He's black.
That's different melon.
Oh,
but,
okay.
Still.
That's
melanin.
Yeah, melanin,
like
exactly.
The color
skin.
pigment.
Yeah, pigment. Well, I guess
melatonin is the spell.
Here it is. It was the Q Entertainment games. I think they're done now, but it was Luminous, Every Extend Extra Extreme. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, Japanese
yes.
game.
Child of Eden is the one I'm mostly thinking of. That seemed like what I wanted to play, but it just wasn't quite right. It just, the sounds in it were unpleasant sometimes. It was just like, I wanted it to be like a festival uplifting experience, and it just didn't always do that.
2011, a lot of 2011 games are bad. Let me just say that. I think
we were still figuring it out.
I think that, and I think
and they made Res as well. Res HD, that was one of them, where you're like, you're like targeting things and firing to the beat.
This is actually Japanese. Isn't Res the crazy guy?
Huh?
We'll figure it out. We'll patch notes it.
I don't think it's it's a separate thing. Yeah, this is a Japanese game company.
Okay.
Shuji Utsumi.
There was some Rails shooter that was a crazy guy.
Tetsuya Mizuguchi.
Anyway.
Mizuguchi?
Okay. No, definitely it wasn't Japanese.
Okay.
Oh, I think it was Fez. Is Fez?
Oh, Fez. That's totally different. Yeah, that's not a Japanese game. That's a platformer with, it's 2D, but you can rotate all the levels.
Oh, maybe that doesn't sound like it either. Anyway, I don't care about.
I don't care. You know what? I don't care.
Anyway.
Fuck it.
Classic rock behavior. I was gonna say something, but I forgot.
The only other thing I kind of thought of that I haven't necessarily seen is, I think there's a lot of opportunities for asymmetrical co-op that haven't really been implemented. They did a bunch of stuff in on the Wii where it's like girlfriend mode, insultingly, or kid mode, little brother mode, where it's like Super Mario Galaxy, for example. One of you controlled Mario, and one of you could fucking point the thing at the screen and shoot little things to stun enemies or whatever.
In Odyssey, can't you play the hat?
I don't think so. There is a spin-off, Bowser's Fury, where you can play Bowser Jr. as the co-op partner, but I don't think you can play the hat.
Okay, never mind.
I would love to play that.
Yeah. So what exactly
I'm just
is the asymmetric part here?
okay. I don't know. Listen, look, I haven't worked out the exact details, but I'm talking about like,
Okay. No, you
you
know.
know, let's say it's a shooter or something, and the second person, when they get the right resources or whatever, can do the musical magic spell during battle that buffs you or whatever. You know, you're doing something that is rhythm related that helps out your other player.
Yeah, I can see this. Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, co-op is such a big blind spot, just because I never play co-op anything ever.
Co-op's my favorite,
so it's hard for me.
So.
Yeah, and I think it's totally different based on the person. Like some people only play co-op, right? And this is like the whole life. And for me, it's hard for me to imagine what that would even look like.
Yeah, I'm trying to. You play team games, which are co-op, but not quite in the same way. Not like
I very very
not like
rarely
against
play,
CPU kind of stuff.
like true co-op.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, not in a non-competitive context. Very rarely. We played. Frog and I played Forced. If you know that
Forced?
game.
No.
Yeah, it was like a top-down co-op puzzle hack and slash-ish game from like 2013, and we played in that era. We also played some like Dungeon Defenders, which is like kind of co-op, but we played that like competitively.
I knew that one,
so it's not the same.
Oh, this looks cool. I might play this with some other people.
Yeah, it was a good experience. It was pretty short, like 8 hours for us, 12 hours, something like that. But
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, for like a casual, for like playing Mario plus co-op, like I just have no context of that. Like I already don't play those games, and to add co-op is just like, or like non-competitive co-op, I just have no concept of what that
I
is.
love that stuff. I wish there was more of. I mean, it kind of harkens back to what we were talking about with League of Legends and a friend needing to bring you in. Like it's sort of like it's almost like an intermediate step to really playing the game. Like if you can't quite play 3D Mario yet, you know, maybe you can tap along to the fucking song and give him a mushroom.
To me, like to my God gamer brain, of course, as the resident God gamer here, to me it's just like, is that fun? Like,
yeah, I'm gathering you. I get it. You think this stuff is too simple. It's not.
No, I like that's my I'm kind of I have a, what's the right word? I have dissonance here, right? Because I know that that's a thing that people enjoy, but I can't understand it, because to me that's like, how is that fun? Like, how do people want to do this? I don't understand the way.
I think
it
if
works,
you're not a God
so
gamer though, like I am talking about more of a normate spectrum of like, oh, okay, this is something I only have to press 1 or 2 buttons, and I can use a skill I already have, which is, you know, fucking dancing to the beat or whatever.
Okay, I think I made a connection. I think it's like a lot of it is like the fun of watching other people play games, right? Which is a thing that I definitely used to do.
Yeah.
Like when you would often just go to someone's house and it would be fun to watch them play through.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Plus, I get to help a little bit. Like I get to push this button or whatever.
And adding the benefit of actually doing something while doing so, that does.
Have you ever been in an arcade and have like a kid come up to you while you're playing and say, "Hey, can I just do this button?"
I was the kid at some point, once or twice in my life, but no.
How's that?
I mean, arcades weren't around when when my brain almonds had formed to the extent that they were usable.
That happened a few times where it's like, they're like, "Hey, can I just hit the attack button or the bomb button or whatever?" I'm like, "No, get out of here."
Yeah.
I don't want to be friends with anyone.
That does make sense. For someone with a little brother, little sister, not the BioShock ones, of course. No, that does make sense. I think
are you an only child? You have a sister?
Yeah. No, I'm
only
child.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, and that's actually a good point from my perspective. Youngest of 3 boys, I would love shit like that. Like, I want to, however I can participate in what my older brothers are doing, I will do that.
You know what I thought when I was playing Civ? I always thought it would be kind of funny if they didn't tell you this, but they had someone play one of the neutral city states, Civ 5. You know what I'm talking about? These like little shitty city states have no purpose other than to like give you tribute or like give you resources. I thought it'd be really funny if they just like stick a player into a city state and
Suddenly they're much harder than
just
you
have them
expect.
fuck with your game, or just have them do stuff that's unexpected. Just fuck with your game.
I mean, I love that. I love the idea of. I mean, it's nearly impossible to do, but having a secret player element where you don't know that another player is doing something
Yeah.
or even able to do it is so fun sounding, but it would have to be like a one-time surprise timed event
Yeah.
sort of thing, right?
In the age of the internet, it's pretty hard to surprise anybody, and you kind of have to design with that in mind.
Yeah. And you have a good point about like, is that fun? You know, at a certain point, like I haven't offered any great explanations of how to do this in a way that would be fun to a god gamer, but it'd still be fun to me, like playing along.
I think it'd be fun once. I think it's an important distinction to make when thinking about games. Is like there's a lot of things that are fun the first time and not fun the second time, and there's a lot of things that are really not fun the first time but fun once you do it 100 times, right?
Yeah, I mean,
And
all
those
games are
two things-
repetitive as fuck. It just matters if the repetitive gameplay loop is fun to you.
Well, not all games are repetitive. Most single player games are not really repetitive. Like they're not meant to be replayed, or they are, but that's not really the focus at all.
Well, I guess what I mean is you're generally doing the same handful of things throughout an entire game, right?
That's
variations
true.
on it.
But I think what I mean is like there are certain things that can happen in games that are really, really cool. Like a cutscene, I feel like I've given this example before. Like a really cool, unskippable cutscene that the whole game builds up to is really cool the first time you see it. If you're not me, but you know,
I mean,
because
in the
that's
old
like,
days,
oh,
especially.
like, I'm experiencing the story.
When
Yeah.
CGI first
And-
started going into games, it was like, here we go, cutscene. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. But I think if you're like a speedrunner or you play the game the third time, or maybe not the third time, but like the 15th time, you're just like, okay, I got it. Get this out of here. And I think some gameplay elements are like that, where something like an asymmetric or big surprise or someone tricked you is really cool the first time.
Yeah.
But then the fun drops way off.
And for me, little musical rhythm games are still very fun to me. And so I would enjoy that sort of thing for sure. Like, you know, the buffing thing, or like, or if you like fall down in order to res someone or to res yourself, you've got to like do a little musical spell or whatever. I like that kind of shit because it's like a little skill thing that has a little music.
I can see something built around the idea of controlling what music, like being the jukebox, and building something out of that, where a second player can like control what song is playing at the given time in the background and seeing what comes out of that. Maybe they can play 2 songs at once and DJ something. I don't know. That sounds sketchy. But,
Yeah.
I could at least see there being
DJ Hero tried to do that stuff. I mean, it's all on rails, of course, but like, yeah, there is I forget the names of the buttons and things, but the thing that goes left and right between the 2 tracks you're playing on the 2 turntables. Whatever the switch is that does that.
The needle
like on the note map or the fretboard or whatever it was. You'd switch between them and it would play like a DJ playing really well, and it was fun. But it was smashing songs together, mashing them together, as some might say.
Yeah.
That's about all I got. You got anything else?
Yeah, I mean we're about that time. No, I think that's about it.
Okay, cool. Well, enjoy your drive home. Don't delete this podcast. What a wonderful feeling. I'm playing a game.
Can we just have the outro music be you doing it 3 minutes?
I think people would throw away their phone and delete their podcast app. All right.
With piano.
Yeah, I'll play. Tell you what. Next time I'll play as well as I can play a piano song right now. Okay. Goodbye, everybody.
You wanna be big? You wanna grow big? Revolutions all the time. People changing the world with crime, with violence and anger, hunger, whatever. I find that ridiculous, if not meticulous. I do my best to guard my own premises. What's your name? your name, fool?
What's my name? What's my name, fool?
What's that sound? Who that be, huh?
What's that sound? Who that be, huh?
Where you come from? Where you come from?
Where I come from? Where I come from?
You think you're big? You think you're big, kid?
I think I'm big. I think I'm big, kid.
Is your desire to grow back again?
It's my desire to grow back again.
You came to the right place. I'll make you big.
I came to the right place. You make me big.
What's this? What's this? What's this? A trick with a twist. Somebody do something, call somebody and make it quick. I'm sorry, I lied. Just wanted to guide everybody through this and go with a ride. Pull the lever or whatever. Right now, right now.
Pull the lever or whatever. Right now, right now.
You better make it quick. Hey, hey.